Divine Comprehension, a dimensional journey begins in Douluo. This video is purely for entertainment and does not infringe on copyrights or laws. The rights to the novel and image belong to the original author. We do not claim ownership. Don't like waiting and want to listen to this fanfic in full now? Subscribe to our Patreon, where you'll find the best fanfics. Chapter 101, Mass Production of Resurrection Coins. Okay, let's eat first, Cecilia interrupted the conversation and said in a gentle tone. If it was normal, Cecilia would not mind playing with Kiana and others, but today there were guests, so they could not be too indulgent. Hearing Cecilia speak, Kiana and others stopped talking. Seeing this, everyone began to sit down. Not long after, as the dishes were served to the table, everyone enjoyed them to their heart's content. After a round of toasts, everyone came to the training ground of St. Freya College. The space here is large enough and there are many things placed inside. Everyone is ready to complete the transaction promised to Wu Tong here. After several hours of fundraising, everyone has already gathered the things that can be traded at the moment. After arriving at the training ground, Wu Tong, who saw those things and understood everyone's intentions, also began to collect his due reward. The first key of God on Auto, the key of revelation, all the knowledge of the previous civilization in the void 10,000 treasures, and all the technical information of the destiny that Otto retrieved with the authority of the bishop. The analytical data of Walter Joyce's natural hairshare body, the analytical data of Lao Yang's hairshare of reason core, and all the technical data of anti-entropy. Fu Hua's Kunshin fist, Takesu sword key, the martial arts experience accumulated over 50,000 years extracted through the 8th God's key, the key of consciousness, Yu Dujin, and the analytical data of the hairshare of consciousness core in the God's key. The analytical data of the hairshare of void core and the hairshare of thunder core on Kiana, Raiden Mei. The analytical data of the hairshare of death core inside the 6th God's key of creation, Hyun Beihua of Yalindel. The 9th God key, the hairshare of rock in the Star of Eden, the 10th God key, the hairshare of domination in the Zuinun sword, and the 11th God key, the hairshare of constraint in the Oath of Judah. A large amount of knowledge data has been detected, and the collection is completed and added to the database. Scientific knowledge template, martial arts experience knowledge has been detected, and the collection is completed and added to the database. Metaphysical foundation template, special abilities have been detected, and the analysis is successful during the analysis. According to the world information, it is named power, a total of 8 powers, reason, emptiness, thunder, death, consciousness, rock, domination, and constrained, have been collected. The analysis is completed during the ability analysis and incorporated into the master's ability system. This collection is completed, all knowledge has been successfully collected, and power has been transformed into one's own ability. Listening to the voice from the intelligent brain in his mind, Wu Tong only felt that happiness was so simple. When the voice calmed down, Wu Tong looked at his gains listed by the intelligent brain and nodded with satisfaction. This time when he came to the collapsed world, the most needed things have been almost all collected. Two-man deputy dean, a raven. A list of 1,500 female Valkyries teachers. All the knowledge inheritance of the previous civilization within the void 10,000 treasures. All the technical data of the 3 major organizations, Destiny, Anti-Entropy, and World Serpent. Fu Hua's 50,000 years of martial arts experience and insights. As well as all his unique skills. The 14 hairshare powers have gathered 8 powers, reason, analysis of structure, space, time and space control, thunder, electromagnetic control, death, creation and decay, knowledge, consciousness control, rock, gravity control, domination, control, and constrained, energy restriction. Moreover, after the 8 powers were analyzed by the intelligent brain, Wu Tong completely mastered the operation of the power and understood all the mysteries of the power. The power controlled by Wu Tong has completely turned into Wu Tong's ability, and can play the performance of the corresponding realm as Wu Tong's strength increases. In short, the power that has been analyzed can be enhanced as Wu Tong's strength increases. From now on, the only thing that limits the output power of the power is the amount of energy in Wu Tong's body. It's just like what I thought. I came to the right place to collapse the world this time. Feeling the mystery of the 8 powers, Wu Tong's mind moved, and with the mobilization of the pure yang true energy in his body, after the transformation of the power, it completely turned into a physical entity. A resurrection coin instantly appeared in Wu Tong's hand. This resurrection coin was made by Wu Tong using the analytical construction power of the law of reason, and it has the same function as the resurrection coin in the chat group. Wu Tong, who had already analyzed the production method of the resurrection coin through the intelligent brain, was unable to make it because he had no materials. However, the power of analytical construction can directly construct objects by consuming energy, which naturally includes the materials of the resurrection coin. In this way, Wu Tong can directly use the power of analytical construction to mass-produce resurrection coins. Therefore, the ability of analytical construction just complements Wu Tong. Wu Tong, who has an intelligent brain, can use the intelligent brain to analyze everything and obtain knowledge, thus reaching the point of omniscience, but because the amount of knowledge is not enough, it can only be said to be pseudo-omniscience. Before obtaining the power of analytical construction, knowledge can only be knowledge, and will eventually be affected by various factors. For example, the level of science and technology, productivity conditions, and material restrictions. However, after possessing the power of analytical construction, the results can be directly materialized. In this way, as long as you have enough knowledge, you can be omnipotent. However, such omnipotence is limited by the amount of knowledge, so it can only be called pseudo-omnipotence. But even so, Wu Tong's current ability is extremely terrifying. The intelligent brain connects to the Akashic records of the world, obtains knowledge, and analyzes the structure to directly rub out the finished product. In this way, as long as Wu Tong has a way to make something, he can directly reproduce it. At this rate, one day, Wu Tong will be able to reach the realm of true omniscience and omnipotence. It's a pity that the power of the Herrscher of Corrosion has not been obtained yet. Wu Tong sighed while playing with the resurrection coin in his hand. This time when he came to the collapsed world, Wu Tong actually wanted to get only a few powers, namely the power of analytical construction, the power of erosion, the power of constraint, and the power of consciousness of the Herrscher of Knowledge. The analytical construction power of the Herrscher of Reason and Wu Tong's own ability can complement each other, allowing Wu Tong to bid farewell to material constraints and achieve a true takeoff. The consciousness power of the Herrscher of Knowledge allows Wu Tong to obtain psychic abilities, possess psychic defense and attack means, and make up for his own shortcomings. The constraint Herrscher allows Wu Tong to have a forbidden field, suppressing all energy except his own, greatly improving Wu Tong's combat effectiveness. The corrosion Herrscher is the nemesis of all machines and will play an important role in other worlds in the future. As for the other Herrscher powers, they are just a collection instinct of the collector. It is best to get it, but it is harmless if you can't get it. Chapter 102 The Little Ancestor's Apology. However, Wu Tong was not too worried. After all, he had reached a cooperation with the three major forces. In the next few days, all the Herrscher cores or God's keys will be sent to St. Freya College one after another. Except for the power of the end, which cannot be obtained now, according to Wu Tong's plan, he can eventually get the other Herrscher powers. Especially the power of erosion that Wu Tong has been thinking about. In fact, Wu Tong is the most relieved about this power. Because whether it is Yuzakura or Ling, they need to wait until the Jizo soul is obtained before they can be resurrected. In order to resurrect them, Fu Hu and others who feel guilty about Ling and Colin who loves Yuzakura will definitely find the Jizo soul for themselves. And if the Jizo soul is obtained, then the erosion power is not a simple matter. The rest of the people stood aside, watching Wu Tong analyze the Herrscher core and the rising momentum coming from his body, and they couldn't help but sigh in their hearts. Is this the time traveler? The cheater is really outrageous, I envy him. Asa came, and everyone looked over. It was Kiana who was shaking her head and sighing. But she didn't look sad, but full of stupidity. Everyone was helpless. What did this girl want to do? But everyone present knew Kiana's character very well, so they didn't care about her sudden voice. Kiana, what's wrong? Are you not feeling well? Cecilia, who was standing by, saw Kiana sigh suddenly, thinking that Kiana was not feeling well, and asked. Then she put her hand on Kiana's forehead. No, Mom, I just saw Wu Tong become stronger easily, and thought that I still need to work hard to train, so I feel a little depressed. Obviously I am also a protagonist, I also want to cheat. Kiana saw Cecilia put her hand on her forehead, did not dodge, and answered. Hearing Kiana's words, everyone was speechless. You want to cheat? Haven't you cheated enough? As everyone knows, in the world of collapse, the girl with the name Kiana will definitely become the strongest. Whether it's the Kiana of the end in Honkai Impact 2, the real Kiana you Randall in Honkai Impact 3, or this one, who will eventually become the Herrscher of the End and has several Herrscher forms, K423 Kiana. No matter which one it is, the final achievement is so unexpected. Aren't the cheats you've used enough? Count how many Herrschers you can become. Herrscher of the Void, Herrscher of Fire and Flame, Herrscher of End. There are already 3 of them, and they're all so strong. Isn't this cheating? Brownaya, who was standing by, heard Kiana's words and complained expressionlessly, "You're simply a cheat king. If I were a game developer, I would definitely ban your account. You're really destroying the balance of the game." I smell a lot of jealousy. Brownaya, you're not jealous of me, are you? Are you envious? I have 3 Herrscher forms and you only have 2, so cute. Kiana smiled slyly when she heard Brownaya's words. This little dwarf Brownaya is actually jealous of me. Who is jealous of you, idiot Kiana? And have you forgotten that May also has 2 Herrscher forms? Brownaya was speechless after hearing what Kiana said. Did this idiot think when she spoke? Oh, Paramecium has no brain at all, no wonder. Suddenly she remembered that she seemed to have mocked 2 people with one sentence. A drop of cold sweat oozed out of Kiana's forehead, and she turned her head stiffly to the side. Sure enough, May's face was full of black lines at this moment, and there was a crossroads clearly visible on her forehead. May, I'm sorry, I was wrong. Looking at the conversation and playfulness between the 3 people, everyone else just wanted to say, listen, is this what people say? Joachim, the 3 Herrscher forms they are talking about, 2 Herrscher forms can't be what I think, right? Joyce heard the conversation between the 3 Herrscher families and asked Lao Yang next to him, with a stiff tone, as if he couldn't understand the news they said at all. Yes, I didn't expect their future to be so outrageous, but according to the plot Fu Hua said, Kiana and the others will become people with multiple Herrscher forms in the future. Lao Yang adjusted his glasses and said calmly. I really didn't expect that the Herrschers of the current civilization are so interesting. Yes, this is too outrageous. I didn't expect that the Herrschers of the previous civilization who were wholeheartedly destroying mankind are all traitors in the current civilization. Haha. Danzhu Kangsun and the others looked at this scene and thought of Fu Hua's words, and they were also full of emotion. Alicia, you succeeded. You stupid guy, I didn't expect it. The little ancestor Kang Xiaoxun looked at Fu Hua and seemed to want to apologize. Is it about the 7 swords of Tixu? Don't apologize, after all, you are doing it for my own good. Fu Hua looked at Kang Xiaoxun, who had reunited after a long absence, with tenderness in her eyes. Besides, if it weren't for them, maybe I wouldn't be able to get rid of Shanine's control now. It can only be said that it was a blessing in disguise. What's more, those are all things of the past. Don't worry too much. Fu Hua's tone seemed to be a little emotional, nostalgic, not distracted, angry, but eventually turned into relief. Master, Chang Lixu, who was listening to the conversation between Fu Hua and Kang Xiaoxun, stepped forward and held Fu Hua's hand. It's okay, I'm fine, I just remembered the past. Turning her head to look at Chang Lixu's worried expression, Fu Hua felt warm in her heart. Yes, I still have Lixu, the disciple who makes me most satisfied. Oh, why are you talking about those guys on such a happy day? Be happy. Danzhu looked at the few people who looked sad, and quickly interrupted the topic. If it was the Herrscher of Knowledge, he would definitely not be so sentimental. Oh, by the way, the Herrscher of Knowledge. By the way, the Herrscher of Knowledge that I heard you talk about seems quite interesting, but if you are prepared now, will Xiaoshi not appear? Danzhu asked Fu Hua curiously, and Kang Zhuan on the side also cast his eyes over. She was also very curious about Xiaoshi. A Herrscher who was influenced by Fu Hua's memory and mistakenly believed that he was Fu Hua and wanted to fight against Hong Kei is really rare. If Alicia knew, she would definitely be very curious, because this is a Herrscher who was born under the influence of her power to fight for humanity. Thinking of the fury-like pink girl who loved everyone, Kang Zhuan's eyes were dazed. Chapter 103 Danzhu, give birth to a daughter to save the world? Fu Hua. Then, he shook his head and threw away the messy thoughts in his mind. Kang Zhuan was a little helpless. Why did he always think about the past? The few people on the side did not notice Kang Zhuan's thinking and continued to chatter. Then, Fu Hua was heard talking. It shouldn't be. As long as my consciousness leaves this body, then the cocoon of the end will definitely not give up my body. Oh, so, then dear Fu mother, do you want to try to give birth to the little baby? Danzhu smiled evilly. Yes, you blockhead, give birth to the baby. I also want to meet that black tiger of Fu. Kang Xiaoxun was also watching the fun and not minding the big things. Well, Fu Hu looked at the few people in front of her, a little helpless. However, Fu Hu thought about their suggestions and felt that she could do it. In the original plot, the role of the Herrscher of Consciousness was not small at all, and it also made a great contribution to defeating the collapse. If possible, Fu Hu naturally did not want to give up this precious combat power. Great! Hearing Fu Hu's agreement, Dan Zhu and Kang Xiaoxun cheered and high-fived. On the other side, Karen Oto looked at Karen, who was still angry in front of him, and approached with a shameless face. Otto, you bastard, you dare to come over, bite your teeth. Seeing that Otto dared to come over, Karen was also very angry. Without any mercy, she punched him directly. Boom! With a muffled sound, a dark circle suddenly appeared on Otto's eyes. But Otto didn't even cover it, as if he was not injured at all. Looking at Otto's appearance, Karen also had a complicated expression. After knowing what Otto had done in the past 500 years, even she could not pretend not to see it. But after learning that these things were all done by Otto in order to resurrect herself, Karen understood that the source of this sin was herself. Now, Karen only wants to pay for this sin with Otto. As for blaming Otto, Karen has never thought about it. Anyone in this world can blame Otto, even hate, resent, and despise Otto, but Colin is the only one who does not have the qualifications and position to hate Otto. Not long after, when everyone finished talking about the pain of separation on the playground, the night has completely fallen. Everyone also left St. Freya College with the resurrected people. After all, they are all the rulers of a force. If they leave for a while, there is no problem, but if they leave for a long time, there will still be trouble. Moreover, the transaction with Wu Tong also needs to be completed as soon as possible. These things need to be completed over time. After saying goodbye to each other, Wu Tong followed Teresa and others to the room prepared for him. After washing up, Wu Tong sat cross-legged on the bed. Feeling the power in his body, he began to mobilize the power of space, connected the imaginary space, and began to extract a countless collapse energy inside. Wu Yongyan instantly transformed the collapse energy into pure Yang Qi. In this way, Wu Tong sat on the bed and began to practice, at the same time. Belong to the world view of the Sea of Trees. In the world of the original God, on the continent of Tivat, one of the 7 kingdoms in the mortal world. Liu, a kingdom created by Morex, the oldest demon god with titles such as the God of War, the God of Wealth, the God of Rock, the God of Precious Gold, and the ancestor of all immortals. But it is quietly undergoing huge changes. 3 bowls do not pass the post. On the stage, Tian Tizi tells the story of the King of Rock creates the dragon. And in the best seat for watching the show, there sits a solemn and steady young man full of cultural atmosphere. Although he is not very old, he is full of a sense of twilight, just like an old man entering his old age. The exquisite brown and black clothes set off the temperament of the young man more solemn and steady. And the people who are listening to the book below have no objection to such a young man sitting in the best seat. Not only because that person is Mr. Zhongli, the most knowledgeable and pedantic person in Liu. It is also because Mr. Zhongli held a ceremony for the emperor to send the immortals, so that the emperor could return to the underworld, which won the respect of all Liu people. Zhongli sat at the top, not paying attention to the respect, admiration, reverence, or envy of others. Wait? Envy? Zhongli's eyes twitched slightly. He moved his gaze along the line of sight, and sure enough, it was the child he couldn't handle. The 77th head of the Wangsheng Hall in Liu, Hu Tao. Zhongli had raised this child since childhood, but his wild thinking and weird brain circuits often made Zhongli feel tired. At one point, Zhongli said that he couldn't handle this child. Seeing Zhongli's eyes looking over, Hu Tao quickly retracted her envious eyes, pretending to be fully focused, staring at Bian Tizi telling a story on the stage. Seeing Hu Tao like this, Zhongli sighed helplessly. If you want to pretend, can you pretend to be more like it? Don't keep looking over. Zhongli originally planned to pretend that he didn't see it, but Hu Tao saw that Zhongli didn't call her and walked over directly. Sitting opposite Zhongli, she said nothing but stared at him. Zhongli's scalp was numb because of the stare, and he didn't know what this girl wanted to do. So he said directly, "Master, what's the matter? Aren't you going to go out and promote your Wangsheng Hall discount today?" It's really speechless. I don't know what Hu Tao was thinking, but she actually came up with a discount plan for Wangsheng Hall. This is simply unheard of. If it was any other business, it would be fine, but what kind of business is Wang Shenghua? Funeral business. You come up with a discount package for this kind of business, what will others think? We only lost one in our family, what do you mean by giving a half-price discount for the second monument? Are you planning to make our family lose another one? But Hu Tao doesn't care about these twists and turns. In her cognition, death is not a terrible thing. She believes that when a person is born, it means he is heading towards death. In this case, why not arrange your own funeral in advance? With this idea in mind, Hu Tao has been keen on finding people to recommend Wang Shenghua discounts, and even recommends them directly at home. Therefore, the originally pretty little girl was avoided by the people of Liu. No, I'm not in the mood these days. Guest, I also want to hold a ceremony to send off the immortals for the emperor. Hu Tao stared at Zhongli with resentment. When the ceremony was held, Hu Tao was out for something and did not participate in the ceremony. Therefore, she missed the ceremony of sending off the immortals for the emperor. Chapter 104, The Evil Fate Between the Seven Peaches, The Gathering of the Liu Immortals. After coming back, Hu Tao has been in a bad mood. She actually missed the opportunity to hold a funeral for the emperor. If she had known, she would not have gone out. Zhongli naturally understood this. After Hu Tao came back, she had been avoiding her. Unexpectedly, she was caught by this girl today. Master, from a common rational point of view, if you wanted to rush back at that time, it would take too long, which was not realistic. And the emperor's sending immortal ceremony at that time was also an urgent matter. Zhongli took a sip of tea and said slowly. Well, actually, this master also knows, but I just regret it. If I had known, I would not have gone out. Hu Tao had a bitter face and her tone was full of annoyance. Seeing Hu Tao's sad face, when Zhongli was about to say something to comfort her, unexpectedly, Hu Tao adjusted herself and returned to her original energetic appearance. Forget it, this kind of thing is indeed impossible to force, but if you miss the emperor's farewell ceremony, you can't miss the other immortal's farewell ceremony. This Hua master must send off an immortal in his lifetime, so that I can make up for my regret. After saying this, Hu Tao's eyes burned with the flame of fighting spirit. This kind of thing is actually unnecessary. Zhongli was shocked when he heard Hu Tao's words and was about to stop her. Then, he heard Hu Tao continue to say, Hey, Kiki, this Hua master is here. Hua turned out to be the true lord of rescue and evil, then everything is fine. Zhongli immediately felt relieved. The story of Kiki and Hu Tao, these two happy enemies, is almost known to the whole of Liu. But after so many years, Hu Tao has not buried Kiki. It can be seen that with the help of other Liu people, it is almost impossible for Hu Tao to send Kiki away, so naturally, he doesn't need to worry about it anymore. Then, Zhongli looked at Hu Tao's hurriedly leaving back, but he felt confused in his heart. So, what are you doing here, Hall Master? Alice Zhongli sighed and said with emotion, Sure enough, I can't handle this kid. After Hu Tao left, Zhongli took out a stone, on which the purple paint outlined the horse head clearly visible. Looking at the horse charm in his hand, Zhongli was also in a trance, thinking of last night. It was this inconspicuous horse charm that completely cured his wear and tear. No, it should not be said to be cured. Instead, it completely expelled the wear and tear law imposed on him by heaven. From now on, wear and tear will no longer appear on him. Sure enough, it is worthy of the ability to expel all external forces in the introduction of the chat group. It is really extraordinary. Now, as long as Zhongli is willing, he can be restored to his peak state at any time and become the god of the rock mountain in ancient times. He can easily rewrite the landform environment and change the mountains and rivers by raising his hand and splitting the sky and the earth. Showing an image of boundless killing, he easily wiped out all the villains who dared to covet Liu. But Zhongli didn't have this thought now. He had already decided to hand Liu over to his people. Unless Liu was in danger of extinction, Zhongli didn't plan to take action. In short, Zhongli has now completely become an old man, thinking about how to walk his bird and watch the show more comfortably all day long. As for fighting, Zhongli didn't want to do it at all. It should be about time. They should all be here. Zhongli held the horse talisman in his hand and calculated the time. After a while, Zhongli stood up from his seat and slowly left Sanwanburguagang. After walking to an unmanned corner, his figure paused, and then disappeared in an instant. Aozeng Mountain. in the fairy house where Liuai and Jifang's Henjin lived in seclusion. The originally quiet and peaceful mountaintop is now bustling. On the fairy mountain, Xianian, the true lord of keeping clouds and blowing wind, Ziyu, Zhuang, Songjin, Langshi, Grandma Ping, Lishu, Dishan, Yanfei's father, Jinpeng General Zio, and other three-eyed five manifested immortals, as well as Ganyu, Shen, Xianan's disciples, Yanfei, Xiangling, Yao, and others gathered here. Of course, there is also Xiangling's little follower, Guoba, who also stayed here with Xiangling. His true identity is the stove demon god Marcus. In addition to Kiki, the boy who resurrected the dead and the true lord of rescuing the suffering and evil, all the immortals, immortal disciples, demons, etc. in Liu were waiting for the emperor's call and all gathered here. As for Kiki, she is not here, but it is not because Hongli does not intend to help Kiki recover. As one of the three-eyed five manifested immortals recognized by the Liu immortals, Kiki naturally belongs to the group of Liu immortals and has been recognized by Hongli. It's just that Kiki can transform into a zombie and become a creature between life and death because she has the immortal power of the immortals in her body. According to the effect of the horse spell to remove external forces, Zhongli cannot be sure whether the horse spell will regard the immortal power in Kiki's body as external forces and remove the immortal power. If it is not the side effects of zombies that are removed, but the immortal power, then it will be bad. Kiki may die completely because of Zhongli's kindness. Therefore, after comprehensive consideration, Zhongli decided to let Kiki wait for a while and wait until later to see if other worlds can solve Kiki's problem. Why did the Emperor suddenly summon us to Liu Ayan? True Lord Zui's Huang looked at the other immortals with a confused look. I don't know, won't we know when the Emperor comes? Why are you in such a hurry? True Lord Lishu Dishan answered slowly. Yes, Zuiu, why are you still the same? You can't calm down when encountering big things. I don't know where you have cultivated yourself for so many years. Yanfei's father on the side also echoed the complaints. Grandma Ping ignored them, still looking old and frail, and smiled at her three disciples. Xianian also heard the conversation between the three immortals, and rolled her eyes under the red half-framed glasses. She picked up the teacup on the table with her slender hands and sipped it. Ganai was also very excited when she saw the gathering of immortals in front of her. Since 500 years ago, many immortals died or were injured. It has been a long time since they gathered together like this. Ganai, are you really not going back to Liu? Yanfei walked over and asked Ganai. She didn't understand why Ganai suddenly planned to retire from Zhuangjian. Well, since the emperor abdicated and the seven stars came to power, Liu has completely entered the human era. As a member of the Liu immortals, I have immortal blood, so there is actually not much room for me in Liu. I guess the seven stars sent me to deliver the letter this time, just an excuse to get me out of the way, right? Chapter 105, Laodang's identity is exposed, and Zio's karma is eliminated. Since Kaixing has given me a chance to leave in a dignified manner, I should know what's good for me. After all, the time for the separation of immortals and mortals has come, and I am not suitable to stay in Liu Harbor anymore. As for official business, I believe Kaixing will naturally handle it. Ganai expressed her thoughts in a cold voice, with a tone full of determination. Is that what Kaixing thinks? But why did I hear that the three guys of Baoan are almost busy like dogs, complaining all day long, and looking forward to your return? Yanfei blinked her scarlet eyes, but the doubts in her heart did not diminish. Did Ganai misunderstand? Before she could say the doubts in her heart, a figure suddenly emerged and appeared in front of everyone, standing proudly like a mountain ridge. This figure was dressed in exquisite brown clothes, and the golden diamond-shaped dragon pupils released a powerful pressure. The momentum on his body was like a deep abyss in a prison, exuding the momentum of a great virtue, but it gave people a heavy and majestic feeling of embracing everything like the earth. Emperor, Emperor, Emperor! All the immortals felt a momentum and stood up, respectfully saluting towards the figure. Emperor, Mr. Zhongli is the Emperor? The immortals who knew it long ago would not be surprised, but those who didn't know were confused when they saw this scene. Especially Xiangling, the little cook. Xiangling was naturally impressed by Zhongli, the knowledgeable guest official of the Rebirth Hall. Not to mention that Hu Tao was her good friend, even Zhongli's pickiness about food was enough to leave her with a deep impression. In her memory, Zhongli was particular about eating. Not only was the ingredients extremely strict, But he also had a lot of experience in cooking and often gave her suggestions, which gave Xiangling a lot of gains and inspiration. Therefore, Xiangling often asked Zhongli to help her taste the dishes, and then improved her recipes based on Zhongli's evaluation. Sometimes getting Zhongli's praise for food was enough to make Xiangling happy for the whole day. But she never thought that Mr. Zhongli was actually the emperor. No wonder he has such a vast knowledge. He has witnessed a development of Liu from nothing to something. He's equivalent to a living history book of Liu. How could he not know those things that have already happened? Ganyu, Yanfei and others were also shocked. But they were not shocked by Zhongli's identity. Zhongli has lived in Liu port for such a long time, raising Hu Tao from childhood to adulthood, but his appearance has never changed in more than 10 years. Senior officials have long noticed that Zhongli is a reclusive immortal, but what they didn't expect was that Zhongli was actually the emperor. What shocked them was that Zhongli, as the Rock King Emperor, did not bring money when he went out on weekdays, but often sent bills to the Northland Bank and the Hall of Rebirth. Can you believe this? All the Mora in circulation on the continent of Tibet is said to be the flesh and blood of Morax. Morax, who has the right to mint Mora, the common currency of Tibet. How could he not have Mora? What a joke. But now is not the time to care about this. After reacting, the women hurriedly followed the immortals to pay their respects. No need to be polite, Zhongli looked around at the immortals and said with a smile. Then, Zhongli's eyes moved to Zio's direction and said, "Zio, come here." Zio did not hesitate and came directly in front of Zhongli, saying respectfully, "Emperor, take this, hold it tightly, but don't hold it too hard. After all, it's just a stone carrier and it's easy to break." Zhongli took out a horse talisman and handed it to Zio, and instructed him by the way. Yes, Zio heard Zhongli's instructions, took the horse talisman, held it in his palm, and gently applied force. In an instant, a faint light emanated from the horse talisman, which quickly spread along the traces of the simplified horse head outlined by the purple dye. When the entire horse head was filled with white light, the horse talisman shone brightly. The soft white light instantly enveloped Zio's body and enveloped Zio. As the white light enveloped Zio, countless black smoke began to emerge from Zio's body. The black smoke exuded all kinds of ominous auras, accompanied by resentment, unwillingness, hatred, anger, tyranny and countless negative emotions rising to the sky. As the black fog appeared, Zio's face gradually became hideous, as if he was enduring endless pain. The black fog spread above Zio, spreading to the surroundings, twisting and wriggling, as if to devour everything around him. But before it could act, the white light on the horse talisman spread to its body. Then, this piece of black smoke was like snow encountering sunlight, and it instantly turned into nothingness. As the black fog dissipated, Zio's expression gradually calmed down. "Emperor, that black fog, could it be?" said True Lord Zhuai's Huang with a solemn expression. "It's the karma in Zio's body," Zhongli said calmly. "Has the emperor found a way to deal with the karma?" True Lord Lishu Dishan was a little surprised. Zhongli nodded, and then said, "This stone talisman is called the horse talisman. It is a treasure I borrowed from someone. It can expel all external evil forces from the body and return the body to its purest moment." Horse talisman? There is such a strange treasure in the world. This ability is really powerful. It can actually expel all external evil forces. Interesting. When Master Liu Yingfang heard Zhongli's words, he stroked his chin with his right wing and sighed. All external evil forces? Then wear and tear. Grandma Ping caught the key in Zhongli's words. Wear and tear is a shackle imposed by the law of nature on all immortals. This law will make the immortals gradually lose their own memories and forget their previous past as time passes. Until finally losing all precious memories, the immortals will be confused and eventually fall into madness, until a disaster occurs. The reason why the Dragon King Ruoto was sealed by the Emperor was that he suffered too much wear and tear. Over the long years, his power gradually disappeared, his form was distorted by various tortures, his mind became unclear, and he attacked Liu port. Zhongli heard what Grandma Ping said and nodded, confirming her idea. The wear and tear is the same. It can be expelled, and it is expelled permanently. From now on, the wear and tear will no longer be inflicted on oneself. My wear and tear has been completely resolved. Today, I have summoned the immortals to remove the law of wear and tear imposed on everyone by the law of heaven. Great Emperor, I didn't expect that the wear and tear on us would be removed one day. That's right. I thought it would be like this until death. Chapter 106, Ruotu is unsealed and the battle begins. When the immortals heard this, they immediately started to discuss it. Having seen the way the Ruotu Dragon King was forced by wear and tear, they naturally hated the wear and tear on their bodies. However, they had no other choice but to let it go. Today, the Emperor actually took out a treasure that could solve the wear and tear. How could they not be excited? Not long after, the black mist on Zio's body had completely dissipated, and with a flash of white light, Zio's figure reappeared in front of the immortals. Emperor, this is. Zio felt a sense of relief coming from his body, as if he had put down a heavy burden and thrown away the burden that he had been carrying for countless years. Moreover, Zio felt that all the injuries on his body had been healed, and all the hidden injuries, internal injuries, and old diseases had disappeared. And the bewitching voice that came from his body at all times had also disappeared. Zio felt an unprecedented sense of tranquility for a long time. It was as if the karma had been eliminated. Zio was very surprised by this situation, and a cold voice sounded, asking Zhongli. Zio, your karma has completely disappeared. From now on, you don't have to worry about the problem of karma anymore. Zhongli saw Zio's figure and felt a pure and clear breath coming from him. He was also a little excited and explained. Then, Zhongli took the horse talisman from Zio's hand and began to solve the wear and tear problems of other immortals one by one. Zio was pulled over by the true Lord Liu and Jifeng, who explained it in more detail. After a while, all the problems of the immortals were solved, and even the old injuries of those immortal disciples were healed by Zhongli. Mark Hughes, welcome back. Looking at Mark Hughes, the last one who was cured, Zhongli said with a nostalgic tone. Well, I'm back, but from now on, call me Guoba. Mark Hughes is a thing of the past. Guoba, who had become about 1 person tall, felt the intact power and strength in his body, and smiled in a hoarse and old voice. Okay, old friend. Zhongli nodded, said nothing, and looked into the distance. That direction is the direction of the Fulan tree. Emperor, do you want to find the Dragon King Ruotu? Seeing Zhongli's gaze, Liu and Jifeng's Henjin asked directly. Well, I had no choice but to seal Ruotu before. Now the horse spell can solve the problem of wear and tear. I should also go there to help Ruotu regain his past memories. Zhongli's tone was calm, but everyone could hear the nostalgia and excitement in his tone. When the immortals heard it, they all agreed. Then, a group of immortals and 2 demons walked towards the direction of the Fulan tree in a mighty manner. Huleo Mountain, outside the Nanshan Gate. Under the Fulan tree. Not long after, a group of immortals came here. Looking at the Fulan tree in front of him, Zhongli's eyes were full of complexity, as if he was sentimental, and seemed to be nostalgic. The immortals looked at the Fulan tree, and their expressions were also very complicated. Grandma, is this the place where the Dragon King Ruotu was sealed? Yanfei saw the majestic Fulan tree in front of her and asked Grandma Ping. Yes, this is where the Emperor sealed our Ruotu. That Fulan tree is the tale of our Ruotu Dragon King, Grandma Ping said in a voice full of vicissitudes. What? All the young people were shocked when they heard what Grandma Ping said. Just a tale has turned into such a big Fulan tree, so how big should the body of our Ruotu Dragon King be? With such a strong strength, it is no wonder that he can become the Emperor's close friend and comrade in arms. Our Ruotu, I'm here to help you. Zhongli was sentimental for a while. As soon as he finished speaking, he began to help our Ruotu remove the seal. With a golden divine power gushing out of Zhongli's body, it connected the seal under the Fulan tree. The seal that was originally as solid as a rock was gradually being worn away. After all, it was the seal that Zhongli had used all his strength to create. Although it had experienced long years of decay, it was still solid. Even for Zhongli, the one who imposed the seal, it was not so easy to remove it. After a while, a crack sound was heard, and Zhongli breathed a sigh of relief, then retracted the divine power he had released. As the divine power was retracted by Zhongli, the earth also began to shake, like a dragon turning over, and in an instant, several cracks appeared. Moreover, these cracks were like spider webs, spreading around the Fulan tree. At the same time, a roar full of anger and hatred came from underground. Morex, how can 1,000 years of hatred be appeased? I am finally free, it's time to settle everything. Then, a brown 4-legged crocodile dragon with a body as huge as a mountain rushed out from underground, roaring loudly, feeling the breath of freedom, and venting the anger in his heart for thousands of years. Morex, you actually came to my door in person, which makes it convenient for me to avenge the seal." The moment he saw Zhongli, the figure immediately roared, and his voice was full of murderous intent. "Ruotu, has it been worn out so badly? You are so hostile to the emperor." They used to be close friends. Yanfei's father couldn't help but be surprised when he saw this scene. He had been away from home for many years, and he didn't know that Ruota Dragon King had been worn out and tortured to this extent. "Shut up, I am Ruota Dragon King, a creature created by elemental crystals, carrying the power and memory of the earth, living as long as the mountains and seas, and definitely not an ally of ants." Ruota Dragon King heard the voice of Yanfei's father and immediately let out a roar. Then, looking at the immortals behind Zhongli, he couldn't help but sneer. "Morax, is this the helper you found to deal with me? It seems that after experiencing endless years of erosion, your strength has long been weakened, and now you still need to walk with ants. Well, in this way, it's just right to end the grudge between us." Roar, Ruota Dragon King roared, and without waiting for everyone to speak, he started to act directly. Ruota Dragon King slapped the ground with his right claw, and the moment the giant claw touched the ground, a crack extended towards Zhongli and others. Along with it came the mighty rock elemental impact mobilized by the Ruota Dragon King. Zhongli sighed, and understood the current situation. Only after defeating the Ruota Dragon King could he have a good talk with it. He no longer hesitated, and the mighty rock elemental divine power in his body, like the abyss and the sea, instantly penetrated his body and swept across the world. The sky was dyed golden, and the heavy pressure like a mountain instantly swept across the world. Chapter 107 The Deterrent Power of the Rock Devil. Zhongli changed his clothes immediately, and put on the rock god garment, and the rock god ring slowly emerged from his back. His body was lifted into the air by the majestic divine power, and his expression under the hood was silent and calm. It was as if the rock demon god, who killed all the demons in Liu and rose on the corpses of the demons during the demon war, had returned to the world. The huge divine power raged in the sky, looking down on everything below like a god. Safe as a rock, Zhongli raised his hand and waved, and a rock element shield full of security appeared on himself and everyone behind him. But in a moment, before the immortals could react, the attack of the Ruota Dragon King had arrived and hit the shield. Puff! But when the attack hit everyone, it was easily blocked by the rock element shield, and no one was hurt. Seeing this scene, the Ruota Dragon King was not disappointed. After all, even if it was forced by wear and tear, it still had a clear understanding of the power of Morax. Not to mention the attack just now, even if it was 10 times more powerful, it would not cause any damage to this rock element shield. "Morax, it's time to end all these old grudges," the Ruota Dragon King roared, jumped high, and then fell heavily. The power of the earth veins at the limbs that touched the earth was instantly mobilized by the Ruota Dragon King. The 4 elements of water, fire, ice, and thunder flowed along the limbs of the Ruota Dragon King, gathered towards the abdomen, and then gathered at the mouth of the Ruota Dragon King, combined with his own rock element power. They gathered into a ball of light, emitting unpredictable explosive energy. The light ball was surrounded by waves of violent energy impact, and there were faint black space cracks. Boom! With the operation of the Ruota Dragon King, the light ball instantly turned into a beam of light, like a sharp sword, shooting towards Zhongli above. Wherever it passed, the scorching energy cut through all media, and the wind was strong, and the space was also cracked. "The sky is shaking." Zhongli saw the attack of the Ruota Dragon King and became serious. The majestic divine power gushed out and gathered above the sky, mobilizing the rock elements between heaven and earth to gather in the sky. In an instant, a huge brown gold star appeared above. The star, like a huge Luban lock, was engraved with runes such as suppression, petrification, sealing, confinement, gravity, etc. As Zhongli waved his hand easily, the star, carrying the surging and violent power of suppressing everything, collided with the breath of the Ruota Dragon King. A deafening explosion was triggered in midair. Monstered. The wind rose from the ground. Venti, who was lying on a tree, holding a dandelion and drunk, felt the fluctuation of Zhongli's divine power. Suddenly woke up. Looking towards Liu with clear eyes, his heart was full of shock. With such a strong attack, does the old man want to destroy Liu, and that wave-like Dragon King? Feeling the collision of these two auras, Wendy quickly mobilized his divine power and began to collect information from the wind. After a while, Wendy relaxed again. Hey, it turned out that the old man lifted the seal himself, so he should be sure to deal with the Dragon King. I won't join in the fun." After saying that, he raised the wine in his hand and drank it in big gulps. At the same time, next to the fruit wine lake, a little elf wearing a red monster costume looked at the direction of Liu, the mushroom cloud slowly rising in the sky, and his watery eyes were full of longing. While Clay also wants to make such a big bomb, Inazuma Castle Tower. General Raiden sat cross-legged in it, felt Zhongli's power, opened his eyes, and moved his gaze to the direction of Liu. The gods of Liu? Is this divine power fighting? But it has nothing to do with eternity, so don't worry about it. After saying that, he closed his eyes again and continued to meditate. Zumi Nashida, the little grass god, was happily using the toilet. Feeling the majestic and powerful rock elemental power, her relaxed little face was startled. Her brows furrowed slightly. Is this the Rock King Emperor of Liu? He is indeed one of the few ancient gods who survived the Demon God War. This kind of power is really terrifying. If I have this kind of power, can I get the recognition of my people? Fontaine, Nada, the gods of winter, the witches of the Witch Association, the strong men of the abyss, the elemental dragon kings, all those who could feel Zhongli's majestic power, all looked at the direction of Liu with a solemn expression, and began to calculate in their hearts. Even Asmodeus on the Sky Island noticed this power, but after a glance, she found that it was Zhongli who was fighting with the Dragon King of Rhoda, and she didn't care. The battle between the two had no meaning to her. Is this the power of the Emperor? As expected, he is worthy of being the Emperor who killed the Demon God War. Few people can compete with such great power. Yan Fei looked at the mushroom cloud in the sky and sighed. The immortals who had not seen the Emperor take action for a long time also nodded in agreement. No one was worried about the Emperor, because they knew the outcome of this battle very well. Not to mention that the Emperor had recovered from the wear and tear, and his strength had completely recovered to the peak. His combat power was no different from that during the Demon God War, and the combat power of the Ruota Dragon King at his peak was not much different from that of the Emperor, so there was no need to worry about the safety of the Emperor. What's more, the Ruota Dragon King's strength had long been worn out and eroded, and coupled with the thousands of years of sealing, it has not yet recovered even if it has some combat power. But it is still not the opponent of the Emperor. Not long after, with the suppression of the Ruota Dragon King, this meaningless battle finally came to an end. Ruotu, do you remember? It was not your or my intention to come to this point. Zhongli fell from the sky, floated in front of the Ruota Dragon King, and said to the suppressed Ruota Dragon King. However, he was interrupted by the Dragon King of Rhoda. Morax, you were the one who sealed me underground before, and 1,000 years later, it was you again. You won, Morax, but you won't win forever. One day, I will come back and settle all the betrayals one by one. After saying that, the Dragon King of Rhoda looked like he had given up resistance and stayed quietly in the same place, waiting for Zhongli to seal it again. You are wrong, Morax has never betrayed, and you have always been close friends and comrades. For thousands of years, the mining of the deep forest has made you miserable, and the wear and tear of time has taken away your thinking. You can't remember the faces of your old friends, let alone the Liu port that you once protected personally, making you more irritable and aggressive. Chapter 108, Relieved, the Dragon King returns, the second guest of the Hall of Rebirth. That's why the war between you two took place. In the end, you volunteered to be sealed here by Morax. At this moment, a voice came from behind the immortals. The immortals looked back and found that it was a middle-aged man they didn't know. They were about to scold him and drive him away. Unexpectedly, Zhongli spoke. Ruotu, well, it's been a long time since we last met, Morax. The man was Kunjin. He looked at Zhongli and nodded. No, Ruota Dragon King heard Kunjin's words, but shook his head to deny it. Hearing this, Kunjin looked at King Ruota again. You can be angry, but you cannot deny this fact. I am the incarnation of King Ruota, and the remnant of its kindness. I represent the aspirations of the contract, lofty aspirations, and the peaceful willingness to coexist with humans. As I said, the person who once recognized Morax the most was you, and me. Hearing this, King Ruota shook his head frantically and roared, no, it's impossible, I will never recognize Morax, this despicable traitor. The sky shook, and the mountains and seas changed shapes. Seeing this scene, Kunjin had no choice but to step forward and shouted loudly. Hearing this, King Ruota continued with the second half of the sentence reflexively. Stars grow in the wasteland, as bright as the scorching sun, Strange, what is this feeling? These are. After saying this, King Ruota paused and was silent for a while. His expression became clear, and then he reacted and shifted his gaze to Zhongli again. Long time no see, Morax? Hearing King Ruota's words, Zhongli smiled again. Long time no see, old friend, come on, while I'm still conscious, seal me again, wear and tear. Before King Ruota could finish, Zhongli interrupted King Ruota. Don't worry, I have found a way to solve the problem of wear and tear. This time I came here, I originally planned to help you get rid of the wear and tear, but I didn't expect. Hearing Zhongli's words, both Kunjin and King Ruota were shocked. If that was the case, did they suffer the beating in vain? After saying that, Zhongli didn't care about the expressions of Ruota Dragon King and Kunjin. He took out the horse charm and pressed it on Ruota Dragon King. A flash of white light enveloped Ruota Dragon King and Kunjin, and the two merged together again. When the white light dissipated, the only thing left was Ruota Dragon King's human form that was exactly the same as Kunjin. At this moment, Ruotu's aura was as heavy and steady as Zhongli's, and there was no trace of madness. I'm back, Morax, welcome back, Ruotu. Then, the immortals talked for a while, as always, without a trace of strangeness. Then, Zhongli's eyes turned to the immortals. A trace of thought flashed in the golden dragon's pupils, and then his eyes became firm, and he began to assign tasks. Zio, you go and invite the Ice Queen of the Winter to come to Liaoyu to discuss the future of our 7 countries. If necessary, you can reveal the power of the horse charm. Xianian, you go to find the water god of Fontaine. Mark Hughes, please go to Zumi. After a while, all the immortals were sent by Zhongli to invite the gods of the 7 countries. When the immortals heard that it was related to the 7 countries, they did not refuse and immediately set off and rushed to the country they were assigned to. The Battle of Fulan Tree came to an end. Let's not talk about how other strong men view Zhongli's combat power. The returning Ruota Dragon King changed his name to Kunjin and lived in the Hall of Rebirth with Zhongli, enjoying his retirement life. However, I don't know what others think, but Hu Tao is confused. There are 2 of her guests. Although Kunjin is as knowledgeable as Zhongli, I really can't afford it. After Kunjin joined the Hall of Rebirth, he also saw Zhongli's extravagant retirement life. He originally planned to follow suit, but after seeing Hu Tao's eyes, he felt a little guilty and gave up the idea. Later, after finding a job as a blacksmith, he began to experience the life of the mortal, the collapsed world. St. Freya College. The sky had just dawned, and the morning dew was refreshing. A thin mist enveloped the entire St. Freya College. In Wu Tong's residence, Wu Tong, who had practiced all night but still looked refreshed, stopped the operation of the exercises, opened his eyes, and exhaled. The exhaled air was like a sharp sword, easily poking a hole in the wall in front. Pure Yang Realm, 20 acupoints, filled. Wu Tong felt a powerful power in his body and smiled. It is worthy of being a collapsed world with a background of the multiverse worldview of the Sea of Trees, located on the Tree of Imaginary Numbers. The energy in the imaginary space can be said to be endless. After a night of squeezing and extraction, the energy in the imaginary space has not decreased at all. It should be said that if there is sufficient energy, Wu Tong's technique, which requires a large amount of energy resources to accumulate, is the easiest to improve. After all, this technique does not require perception. It only requires energy accumulation to quickly improve strength. When the strength is reached, the perception will naturally follow. Just like now, in just one night, Wu Tong borrowed the endless energy in the imaginary space and successfully filled 20 acupoints. After the intelligent brain and Wu Tong joined forces to unscrupulously extract energy from the imaginary space and refine it, they successfully increased their own strength by dozens of times. In the past, it was almost impossible, but now it has been achieved. After practicing, Wu Tong got up from the bed and began to wash. After tidying up, Wu Tong put on a navy blue Shinsao ancient-style gown and walked out of his temporary residence. After walking out of the door, I saw Fu Hua practicing Tai Chi not far away. Beside her were Danzu Kangxun and others who were cheering her on, as well as Kang Xiaoxun who was dozing off. Fu Hua and her friends lived not far from Wu Tong, just next door to Wu Tong. Even though Fu Hua was suffering from insomnia because Wu Tong was so excited that she couldn't sleep after resurrecting her friend yesterday, she still couldn't resist the habit she had developed over the years. The next morning, early in the morning, she came to the open space in the garden downstairs to start training. Even though there were people watching around, Fu Hua didn't feel any restraint or tension. Instead, she felt calmer because her friends were by her side. With her left foot, she performed a set of skillful Tai Chi between stillness and movement. The movements were as smooth as flowing clouds and water. It was pleasing to the eye, but also had endless power, driving the surrounding air and moving with Fu Hua's will. If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelis. There you'll find the original version of this story and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 109 Leisure Life, Going Out Shopping. Wow, Hua, you are so powerful now. You don't seem to have much attack power, but it feels much stronger than the previous direct attack. Danzhu was surprised and praised Fu Hua. Kang Xiaoxuan, who was standing by, was awakened by Danzhu's startled tone. He rubbed his eyes, forced himself to be alert, and looked in the direction of Fu Hua. After seeing clearly, Kang Xiaoxuan was speechless. That's it? Isn't this the same as the fight on Taixu Mountain before? What's the difference? Shrugging, Kang Xiaoxuan fell asleep again. Fu Hua glanced at Danzhu, didn't reply, and continued to do morning exercises at her own pace. After a while, Fu Hua, who had finished morning exercises, stopped the action of his hands and let out a long breath. Then he started to play with everyone. Wu Tong looked at Fu Hua and a group of people who could definitely be called ancestors in terms of age, talking loudly together. He felt very relieved in his heart. One of the wishes of being a ship's subordinate, the Hongke Knife Crusher, the side quest, Fu Hua's tragedy, successfully solved. Just as Wu Tong was sighing, a generous voice came from behind. How about it, do you have the urge to join in? Mr. Wu Tong. Wu Tong looked back and found that it was Wu Lian to Jizzy who was talking. His eyes were cast behind Jizzy again. Good guy, it's actually in the room next to mine. Stunning neighbor? Are you so confident in me? Aren't you afraid that I will be beastly? Although Wu Tong was thinking wildly in his heart. But he did not avoid Jizzy's teasing, and replied with a smile, yes, after all, they are a group of beautiful girls. Some old people once said that appreciating beautiful women can make people live longer. Jizzy didn't expect Wu Tong to say such a thing. He was stunned for a moment, and then he smiled and said as if he had discovered something interesting, haha, this is an interesting statement. Looking at the humorous, kind-hearted, powerful, young and rich Wu Tong in front of him, Jizzy was also moved. Such an excellent partner, if you miss it, you may never have it again. Is spring finally coming for me? However, isn't this boy too young? Wu Tong didn't know what Jizzy was thinking, and started chatting with Jizzy. After a while, Wu Tong, Jizzy, Fu Hua and others walked towards the cafeteria. It was another feast, during which Kiana and others also joined in. After eating and drinking, a group of people began to discuss what to do today. Without Otto as a threat, Kiana and others also decided to give themselves a short vacation from their hard training. While entertaining Wu Tong, they also relaxed. How about we go shopping? I want to sell a lot. Kiana, who had just received a large sum of living expenses from Teresa, saw that others did not speak, and raised her hand to suggest. No, what's the point of that? It's better to go to the arcade to play games. Branaya, who was playing the game console on the side, shook her head and refused. I want to attend the Hamu exhibition. I heard that there will be a Hamu exhibition in the Far East in the near future. Teresa also joined in. Ever since Fu Hua explained the plot, Teresa's image has completely collapsed, and the image of the dean of the school can no longer be shown. Therefore, now she has completely given up treatment and openly tells her hobbies. How about going to the movies? We also want to see the literary works of modern civilization. The lively Danzhu opened his mouth and made a new suggestion, and Kang Zhua nodded expressionlessly in agreement. It's alright, but can you order me a few big meat buns? Kang Xiaoxuan had no objection to other people's ideas. He buried his head and showed off the meat buns in his hand. After eating, he asked Chang Lixu next to him. Of course you can. After a while, everyone with their own opinions wanted to persuade others to listen to their opinions. In a blink of an eye, the originally more harmonious private room turned into a lively lecture hall. Little dwarf, what's so fun about games? It's better to go shopping with May, Paramecium. Games are much more interesting than shopping. What's so good about selling things? Isn't it enough to have enough? It's better to spend the money on Krypton Gold, harem exhibition? Forget it. Hey, why? Harem is the most popular mascot. Seeing this scene, Wu-Tong was helpless. Are you guys treating me, or do you want to go yourself? After a while, seeing that everyone couldn't reach a consensus, Wu-Tong finally made a decision. Only children make choices, and adults naturally want everything. Hearing Wu-Tong's decision, the girls had no objection and expressed their agreement. After the decision was made, everyone quickly finished their meal, and then went back to start packing, dressing up, and changing clothes. At about 12 o'clock noon, everyone drove to the gate of St. Freya College. After everyone arrived, Teresa waved her hand. Let's go. After that, a group of people rushed out of the campus. On the street, a group of men saw Wu-Tong alone, but he was accompanied by a group of beautiful women of all kinds. They all cast envious and jealous eyes towards Wu-Tong. Those who had girlfriends were also taught a lesson by their girlfriends using two-finger Zen. But Wu-Tong didn't know. Feeling the envious and jealous eyes of others, Wu-Tong had only one feeling in his heart. That is, cool. At 12:10, everyone arrived at Zundian Electronics Game City and played Gadago. The Valkyries began to use the weak in the game with their super nerve reaction speed and accurate battle prediction. A group of ordinary players were naturally not opponents and were quickly killed. But as the saying goes, only winning but not losing must be boring. As expected, everyone soon lost interest in the game. At 1 o'clock in the afternoon, everyone came to the cinema and watched the 2-hour Hamu Adventure King. After watching it, Danzu and Kangsun decided not to have any expectations for the literary works of modern civilization. At 3:20 in the afternoon, a group of people came to the Hamu exhibition held in the Far East and began to stroll around. However, except for Teresa, Branaya, Kiana and other people who liked Ham, the others were not very interested. Wu-Tong was naturally the same, but seeing that the others were still interested, he could only accompany them. To be honest, Wu-Tong really didn't understand how a doll like Ham became so popular. It's just a yellow rabbit, and it's so ugly, but it's so popular. And it has become a world-class idol? Is this the so-called ugly cuteness? Chapter 110, The Valkyrie's Table, the Courtesan Duck in Paramecium. It was not until 6 o'clock in the afternoon, after the Ham exhibition ended, that Teresa and her friends, who had been having fun, left the Ham exhibition venue with the collectible Ham comics and dolls they had bought. At around 6:30, everyone came to the largest shopping mall in the Far East and started their shopping trip. They kept shopping until around 10 o'clock in the evening, and then they returned to the academy with large and small bags of things. Woohoo, I'm finally back. I had so much fun today, but by the way, after shopping for so long, I'm a little hungry. Kiana cheered and jumped for joy when she saw the gate of St. Freya Academy. However, with a gulp sound, she was knocked out of her energetic state. Holding her hungry stomach, Kiana acted coquettishly towards May, the lightning girl beside her. Okay, I'll cook for you when I get back, May first comforted Kiana, and then looked at everyone. Everyone has been out for a day and hasn't eaten yet. Why don't we go to our dormitory later and I'll cook a meal for everyone? It was already around 10 o'clock in the evening, and the cafeteria of the academy had long been closed. Therefore, everyone felt the empty feeling in their stomachs and agreed to May's suggestion. Wu-Tong was no exception, although he had a lazy artifact like the gourmet tablecloth. But he was still very curious about the cooking skills of May Raiden, the cook appointed by the Mi family. This time, he was invited to taste it. After the agreement was made, everyone first returned to their own residences, put away all the big and small bags on their bodies, and then came to the dormitory of the three families together. Welcome everyone, Aunt Jizzy, Auntie, class leader, Wu-Tong. As soon as I entered the door, I saw the energetic husky standing at the door. Kiana saw everyone coming, so she stepped forward to greet them one by one. Kiana, don't call me Auntie again. Also, your homework for today will be doubled. When Jizzy heard what Kiana said, she felt furious, and said every word in a heavy tone, staring at Kiana. No. Kiana saw Jizzy's expression and knew that she couldn't escape her homework, so she showed a miserable and wailing look. Hey, Jizzy, don't worry about it. You are indeed old enough to be an aunt. Teresa, who was standing by, naturally watched the fun and said with a smile. Jizzy glanced at Teresa, and was not fooled by this poor provocation. My dean, don't forget that you are older than me, you humph. At least I look young? Teresa naturally heard Jizzy's sarcasm, and said to Jizzy in a somewhat frustrated manner, "Ah yes, yes, you are indeed young." Jizzy looked at Teresa's figure and gave her a pair of pitying eyes. HMPH Teresa, who was completely defeated by Jizzy's eyes, could only humph when she saw this situation, turned her head and stopped looking at Jizzy. "Are you addicted to being a wimp?" Wu Tong looked at Teresa's bullied look, and this sentence suddenly popped up in his mind. Fu Hua and others on the side saw the two people's appearance and hurriedly persuaded them. After a while, the group of people began to get along well again. "Chicken soup is coming," with Miai's voice. All the dishes on the table were served. There were a total of 8 dishes and 2 soups. The 8 dishes were Shin's home-cooked dishes: mapo tofu and braised eggplant, Far East salmon sushi and sashimi, Russia's Russian barbecue and tomato tenderloin, American red wine braised beef and roast turkey. The 2 soups were salty chicken soup and sweet vegetable soup. "Wow, it's so rich, can we start?" Kiana looked at the sumptuous dinner in front of her, looking impatient. "Yes, yes," hiss. As the sound of swallowing saliva was heard, everyone looked in the direction of the sound, and the image of Kang Xiaoxun swallowing saliva instantly came into view. Fu Hua on the side covered her face, as if she didn't recognize the person next to her. Seeing this, everyone started laughing. "Okay, since some people can't wait, let's eat." With a gentle voice of Mei, the dinner was announced. Hearing Mei's words, Wu Tong also picked up the chopsticks and planned to taste Mei's cooking. However, "Wu Tong, come, try this, this is delicious, brother Wu Tong, try this Russian barbecue, it's a specialty of our place." Looking at the paramecium and Prestock diligently picking up food for him. Wu Tong was a little helpless. In this situation, even a fool could see that something was wrong, right? Seeing this, Wu Tong lost interest in eating and said directly, "Hey, you guys are acting so weird, just tell me what you want from me." Kiana and Branaya looked at each other, and then Kiana spoke first. "Wu Tong, do you have a way to solve Jizzy's physical problem?" Wu Tong glanced at her and immediately understood Kiana's thoughts. "Are you talking about the damage caused to her body by the Honkai energy and Jizzy's artificial stigmata?" Yeah, Kiana nodded like crazy when she heard Wu Tong's words. Wu Tong was also very pleased to see Kiana like this. It seems that the last lesson still had a great impact on her. "Even if you haven't experienced that scene, are you still concerned about Jizzy's problem?" "Of course I can do it. It's not a difficult thing for me." Wu Tong smiled lightly, and then changed the subject. "But what do you plan to use as a reward?" "Hey, do you want a reward?" I thought. Halfway through, Kiana also reacted. She and Wu Tong's relationship was not that good. The number of times they met did not exceed 5 times. So Kiana's tone weakened, and then she remembered something and quickly protected herself with her hands. "You don't want to attack me, do you?" "I like Mei, it's impossible for the two of us, who would be interested in paramecium." Wu Tong's face was dark, and he started to complain. He liked the kind of gentle and considerate woman. As for Kiana, it's okay to treat her as a buddy, but attack her? Wu Tong has no interest at all. However, if it was Mei, then he could consider it. Wu Tong did not show his inner thoughts, nor did he care about Kiana's annoyed response after he said that. Instead, he turned his head and moved his eyes to Branaya. "And Branaya, if you want me to do something, you have to think about the reward." "Sure, as long as Branaya can help rescue Seal, Branaya can agree to all Brother Wu Tong's requests." Branaya did not hesitate at all. Although she knew from the plot that she would rescue Seal in the future, the process was full of uncertainty. In case of failure, she could not bear the consequences of that failure, so it would be better to let Wu Tong do it directly and help her rescue Seal directly. Branaya knew that she didn't have much capital, so in order to rescue Seal, she had already prepared to sacrifice herself. When Wu Tong heard Branaya's decisive answer, his thoughts inevitably diverged. Chapter 111, Kiana, shall I sell Zilin to you? Zitter, do you know how much a piece of bread costs these days? 500,000 marks. A car cannot even hold this amount of money. Degree Cyrillic letter D degree. Is this Seal? Wu Tong was confused and shook his head quickly, throwing away the picture in his mind. Then he looked at Branaya and said, "Once a word is spoken, it is hard to take it back." Branaya continued the second half of the sentence with a firm look in her eyes. At this moment, Kiana on the side also thought of something. She said, "How about I sell Siren to you?" Then, before Wu Tong could answer, Kiana heard Siren's exasperated voice in her mind. Kiana, you, before Siren could finish her words, Kiana directly used the Honkai energy technique taught by Fu Hua to block Siren's next words. Then, Kiana stared at Wu Tong, waiting for Wu Tong's reply. In Kiana's opinion, since Siren would hurt Teacher Jizzy in the future, then using her as a reward for treating Teacher Jizzy this time, wouldn't it just make up for the harm she caused to Teacher Jizzy? As for Zilin's resistance, that's not important. For Kiana, who hasn't seen through it yet, the culprit is not worthy of forgiveness, even if it's another self. Wu Tong was a little dumbfounded when she heard Kiana's words. Kiana, you are worthy of your reputation. You are really smart. Isn't Zilin your other side? What's the difference between you and selling yourself? The others on the side didn't say anything, just watching Wu Tong and the others make the deal. Hearing Kiana's words, a group of people were obviously relieved. Only Cecilia had a complicated look, but she didn't say anything. It's not that they don't care about the two of them, but it's really hard to speak. Not to mention that Wu Tong just helped them resurrect a large group of old friends. Just say that Wu Tong's own potential is enough for major forces to compete for investment, and maybe in the future when fighting against a collapse, Wu Tong's help will be needed. In this case, they naturally can't ruin Wu Tong's good deeds. As Valkyries, it is impossible for everyone to put the whole world in danger because of their own selfish desires. Of course, this is also because they don't know Wu Tong well, so they made the worst plan. However, this plan is understandable. Okay, then it's settled. Wu Tong came back to his senses, and the look in his eyes when he looked at Kiana was still a little strange, but he didn't refuse. After all, Zilin's combat power is indeed not weak, and she is also a talent. After bringing her back to the Douluo world, if the education is arranged, when Zilin gets rid of the title of illiterate and completely controls the power of the imaginary space, she will be a general under his command in the future. As for Brunaya, Wu Tong certainly plans to take the entire Kokolia orphanage into his pocket through her. After all, there are talents there. Whether it is Rosaria, Lilia, Uncle Zing or even Kokolia, they all have strong abilities. After that, Wu Tong waved his hand, and the dimensional curtain appeared instantly, connecting to the quantum sea. The quantum sea. Sister Brunaya, what are you doing now? Zir misses you so much. In an unknown place, Seal, wearing blue and purple clothes, was in a daze, but her thoughts went back to the past, and her expression was full of longing. Why do you miss her? Maybe your sister Brunaya has given up on you a long time ago? Seeing Seal like this, Hazai felt a little uncomfortable and said faintly, No, the other me, you are not allowed to say bad things about Sister Brunaya. Sister Brunaya will not forget me, Seal responded firmly to Hazai's words. HMPH, whatever you think, I can't control it, Hazai snorted, and then stopped talking. Another me, did I say something wrong? Seeing that Hazai ignored her, Seal spoke weakly. No, after a while, Hazai finally couldn't bear to see Seal's pitiful look, and responded. At this moment, a chaotic gray and white curtain suddenly appeared in front of Seal and crashed into Seal. Seal, be careful. When Hazai saw this, he quickly took over Seal's body and looked at the dimensional curtain, rushing over with a serious expression. The sickle in his hand appeared instantly, and he was fully alert. Swish, but no matter how alert he was, Hazai still couldn't resist the power of the dimensional curtain and was transferred out of the quantum sea by the dimensional curtain. Not long after Hazai left, a figure appeared here, looking at the place where the dimensional curtain disappeared, and remained silent for a long time. St. Freya Academy. The dormitory living room of the three major families. Where is this? Hazai felt that the scenery in front of him suddenly changed, and he appeared in a hall in an instant. Looking at the layout here, it should be a living room of a room, right? Hazai held the sickle alertly, thinking secretly in his heart. At this moment, a familiar voice came. Still Hazai turned his head and looked, and immediately found a familiar figure in his memory. Sister Brunaya, but in an instant, Hazai was squeezed out by Seal. Humph, feeling that Seal squeezed him out, he looked at the scene where Seal and Brunaya hugged each other tightly. Hazai felt aggrieved, turned his head and snorted proudly, then turned his head away from looking at the scene that hurt her heart. The others beside him saw the scene and smiled knowingly, and did not disturb the two. Still at this moment, Wu Tong felt a burning gaze, turned his head and found that it was Kiana who was looking at him with fiery eyes. You really can't wait at all. Wu Tong looked at Kiana's impatient gaze with a smile in his heart, and did not speak. Then a green light emerged from Wu Tong's hand. Then Wu Tong threw it to Jizi. Jizi's body touched the green light from Wu Tong's hand, and she felt as comfortable as if she had done a SP, and she couldn't help but groan. Well, hearing the sound coming from her mouth, Jizi came back to her senses and quickly covered her mouth with a blushing face. She lowered her head and did not dare to look at the expressions of others. After a while, Jizi felt that the comfort in her body disappeared, and the pain that was constantly coming from her body also disappeared. He immediately realized that his Hongkai energy erosion had been resolved by Wu Tong. Thank you, Brother Wu Tong. After Jizi no longer had to worry about her life, she smiled and thanked Wu Tong. Chapter 112 Jizi's 3 Sacred Marks of the Lu Family. Aunt Jizi, are you okay? Kiana asked hurriedly after hearing Jizi's words. Well, I don't feel the erosion of Hongkai energy now, and I feel that the stigmata on my back seem to have changed a little. Jizi didn't care about Kiana's address this time, and answered Kiana's question, and then said uncertainly. Your feeling is right, I have upgraded your artificial stigmata for you, and replaced them with natural stigmata. Now not only does it have no effect on your body, but it brings you stronger power. Wu Tong didn't care about Kiana interrupting him, and confirmed Jizi's guess. As for the natural stigmata, it was when Wu Tong came into contact with Raiden Mei and analyzed the Herrscher of Thundercore. He asked the intelligent computer to analyze the natural stigmata on Raiden Mei's body. By analyzing Raiden Mei's stigmata, he successfully mastered the structure of the natural stigmata. Now Wu Tong can make various natural stigmata according to his own needs. The stigmata constructed for Jizi is a natural stigmata that Wu Tong rubbed out by hand based on the Hongkai II game. Hey, can such a thing be done? It's worthy of being an organization that spans countless worlds. It's incredible, Jizi exclaimed in surprise. Wu Tong blinked his eyes when he heard Jizi's words, and he didn't react for a while. Did she misunderstand something? Before Wu Tong could think carefully, a surprised voice sounded from behind Jizi. Hey, Teacher Jizi, your stigmata seem to be me and me eyes. When a group of people heard it, they immediately came to Jizi, followed Kiana's line of sight, and looked at the waist area of Jizi's back. There, a stigmata was clearly visible. Wu Tong designed the overall appearance of the stigmata to be the style of the godly meteorite sword, and it was engraved vertically on Jizi's back. The stigmata is composed of 3 different stigmata, upper, middle and lower. The overall look is extremely complicated, but if you look closely, you can find a mystery. The stigma component on the upper part turned into hilt, and the figure inside was none other than Kiana Kislana. Kiana, wearing a high ponytail and wearing a Herrscher costume, stood in the academy. Surrounding her were Teresa, Mei Raiden, Branaya, Himiko, Fu Hui, and others, looking warm and harmonious. Kiana, Herrscher of the Branaya Herrscher of Reason, Part 2, indeed, I never thought that one day my students would become my strength. This is really a dream. Jizi looked at the photos of the stigmata taken by others and chuckled. But in an instant, she was broken. But why are they the patterns of Herrschers? Is this a constant reminder of the fact that I have taught a group of Herrschers? Hey, Jizi, don't worry about this kind of thing. How do you feel about the new stigmata? Teresa was afraid of getting herself in trouble when she heard Jizi's words, so she quickly changed the subject. After all, she is the founder of the Herrscher Academy. If she really discusses it, this fire will eventually burn herself. The new stigmata are really good. The blessing they bring to me is far greater than the artificial stigmata, Jizi felt it and said. The other women also came forward one by one to ask Jizi about her feelings about the new stigmata. After listening to Jizi's description, the faces of the women changed, and they all looked at Wu Tong with green eyes. Once this natural stigmata technique can be mastered, the possibility of this world surviving the collapse will be greatly enhanced. After all, everyone present is familiar with the power of the stigmata. Artificial stigmata can create a group of Valkyries that resist collapse. The help brought by natural stigmata is more powerful than artificial stigmata. And strictly speaking, Orandel, the strongest Valkyrie of destiny, is the highest masterpiece of the stigmata of the 2 families of Kislana and Shanliat. Before she grew to her peak, she was able to fight with a normal Kevin. After perfectly integrating the stigmata and transforming into Shionit and Kitang, her strength increased by leaps and bounds. If she joined forces with Kiana, she could even fight with a false god Otto. Even if Otto did not exert his true strength and was always letting him go. But even so, it was very incredible. Who was Otto at that time? That was a false god who took over part of the authority of the imaginary tree, and his strength was only stronger than the star god next door. Wu Tong felt the gazes of the women and paused his hand reaching for the mapo tofu. Can this meal still be eaten? With a helpless sigh, Wu Tong then extracted all the knowledge about the construction method, research materials, data information, etc. of the natural stigmata, and burned them into a USB flash drive with the authority of analytical construction. Without saying anything, he handed the USB flash drive to the women who were waiting eagerly. This thing was not a big deal for Wu Tong, so he gave it to her, and Wu Tong still admired the Valkyries who protected the world with their lives. Moreover, Wu Tong did not give it away for free. First of all, even if the natural stigmata were made, it could not be popularized at all because of insufficient resources. It could only be applied to the Valkyries, and those Valkyries were all Wu Tong's future subordinates. In this way, the results of Otto's efforts would eventually be taken by Wu Tong. Moreover, the construction of the stigmata was very troublesome, and Wu Tong was too lazy to do these things. It was fine to make a few occasionally, but it was not realistic to expect Wu Tong to make stigmata all the time. It would be better to let other forces make them, so that Wu Tong could extract a part of it as a reward, not only pushing the work out, but also gaining a lot in the end. Great, with this, we can definitely survive the collapse, GZ, who was deeply impressed by the power of the natural stigmata, said excitedly. Of course, with this thing, I will have a better chance of convincing Kevin, Fu Huo looked at the USB flash drive in GZ's hand and sighed. Moreover, with the natural stigmata technique, there is no need to think about the Soul Master system of Wu Tong's world. After all, that system is not as good as the stigmata technique in terms of combat power or other aspects. Chapter 113, Zilling returns, Otto arrives. Wu Tong didn't care about the girl's touch, but moved his eyes to the paramecium. It's time to collect the reward. He said something to Kiana, and Kiana didn't refuse. She opened her hands and waited for Wu Tong to take action. Wu Tong didn't hesitate, and the authority of the Herrscher of Knowledge was activated instantly. God gave me wings, control the state of mind of all beings, dream reality, and the King of Spirit. The authority of the Herrscher of Knowledge is to control consciousness, and has a strong operating power for the spirit and soul, and all of Zillin's abilities are in Kiana's body. So the soul had almost no power to resist, and was directly pulled out of Kiana's mind by Wu Tong. Then, Wu Tong used the resurrection skill directly, and the fresh Zillin appeared in front of everyone. The resurrected Zillin was still thinking about getting angry and provoking and killing the people present, but was successfully suppressed by Cecilia and immersed in the gentle countryside. After everything was done, Wu Tong and others started the dinner again. After dinner, a group of people went back to rest. As for Zillin, she was taken away by Cecilia, under the pretext of communicating with Zillin. Wu Tong did not stop her. The mother and daughter had just met, so was there any problem in communicating with each other? Moreover, Wu Tong was very optimistic about Cecilia's emotional offensive against Zillin. It would be best if Zillin's mind could be changed. Late at night, accompanied by the night and the stars, everyone gradually fell asleep. The next day, at noon. It was a great sleep. Wu Tong lay on the bed, stretched, and looked out the window. This weather really makes people feel sleepy. No wonder the quality of sleep was so good yesterday. At this moment, the sky outside was covered with dark clouds, and there was a sense of oppression as if the dark clouds were about to destroy the city, as if a storm was about to come. However, the dim sky, the lazy air, and the heavy wind blowing over made people feel drowsy, and Wu Tong was right about this. However, Wu Tong looked at the time, cheered up, washed up, changed into casual clothes, and left the bedroom. Looking at the colorful St. Freya College in the dim light, Wu Tong couldn't help but sigh. Otto really dotes on Teresa. It's not easy to build this college, Mr. Wu Tong, you have some misunderstandings. Although I do love Teresa, I can't build such a warm style of building. These are all built by Teresa herself. I just provided the materials and funds. A voice that makes people feel like spring breeze came from the side. Wu Tong knew who the visitor was without looking. If it was not unexpected, it should be the Archbishop of Destiny. Turning his head, he saw that it was Otto. In addition to the familiar Colin, Orchid Ale, and Rita, there was another person that Wu Tong didn't expect. Li Suchin. Li Dazhentao. This is not the Li Suchin who is disabled in both civil and military affairs in the Star Iron world. Instead, She is an S-class female Valkyrie who is both civil and military in the world of Honkai and has extremely high combat power. She is also one of Otto's trump cards. The two are completely incomparable. Not to mention IQ and strength, there is also a huge difference in body shape. The figure of Honkai's Li Sishang is much better than that of Honkai's Sishang, especially the pair of big pillows, which can definitely be ranked in the top few in the Honkai figure rankings. Is that so? I didn't expect that Teresa can still be reliable, haha. If little Teresa heard you, she would definitely be very angry. After that, Wu Tong chatted with Otto for a while. He began to ask Otto about the purpose of coming here today. When Otto heard Wu Tong ask this, his expression was a little gloomy. I came here today because of Colin's request. We brought the Jizo spirit. Oh, I understand. Yae Sakura is about to be resurrected. No wonder Otto is not in a good mood today. That man will be in a good mood when he sees the rival who is competing with him for a woman, even if that rival is a woman. But Wu Tong didn't care. Although he would recruit Otto, it didn't mean that Wu Tong had a good impression of Otto. With the sins that Otto had committed, even if he died 10,000 times, it would not be enough. If Yae Sakura was resurrected later, it would just fill the gap for Otto. There is also Wendy's desire gem. The holy fire judgment in Siegfried's hand sent by anti-entropy. And according to the information provided by Fu Hui, the fifth god key stasis key, the hibernation of all things, all three of these things were found. As for the remaining two Herrscher cores, we really have no way. It's okay, it's good that these things have arrived. Where are the things? Wu Tong asked impatiently. In fact, he was a little surprised to hear that Otto brought the three god keys and a desire gem so quickly. But when he thought about the fact that Xianming could almost dominate the world, he calmed down again. With such a huge intelligence network, as long as Xianming looked for it seriously, they could indeed find what they wanted quickly. As for the remaining two Herrscher cores, let alone Otto, even Wu Tong himself didn't dare to say that he could definitely get them. Origin and End, the two most powerful powers in the world of collapse, are not easy to deal with. Otto chuckled. All the things are placed with little Teresa. It happens that Teresa is fine, so she will help take care of the things first. Then let's go. Wu Tong didn't hesitate and walked towards Teresa's dean's office. Seeing this, Colin hurriedly followed. Otto saw Colin leave. Although he was reluctant, he still followed her. Otto followed, and the other three looked at each other, and followed Otto to the dean's office. The dean's office. Kiana was about to go to Teresa to ask for money. Unexpectedly, as soon as she entered the door, she saw a girl sitting in front of her and a few things. A rectangular high-tech box like a coffin. A black box. 2 pistols. Wait, a pistol. Does that pistol look familiar? And, isn't this my dad's Skyfire judgment? How come it's here with you? Kiana asked Teresa in shock when she saw the familiar Skyfire judgment. Skyfire judgment, the divine key, is the inherited weapon of the Kaslana family. Her dad has always kept it with him. Why is it here now? Could it be that? The images in Kiana's mind flashed quickly, and when she was about to cry, Teresa spoke up. This is the reward sent by anti-entropy, and it was also agreed by Siegfried. After all, Wu Tong also resurrected Cecilia. Chapter 114 Analysis of the 4 powers of harvest, wind, ice, fire, and erosion. Is that so? And, why didn't you tell me earlier? I thought my dad had met with an accident? When Kiana heard Teresa's words, the sad expression she was about to show was instantly retracted, and she turned into a heartless look again. Why, what do you think it is? Teresa heard Kiana's words and looked at Kiana with some suspicion, as if she wanted to see what Kiana originally intended. No, that's what I meant, Kiana said hurriedly. If Teresa knew her thoughts, she would definitely spread them everywhere. In this way, wouldn't she become the synonym of a loving father and a filial son? Thinking of this scene, Kiana shuddered and made up her mind not to let Teresa know. Forget it, go find other people to come over. Wu Tong and Grandpa should be here soon. Teresa stared for a while, but didn't find anything, so she gave up on further investigation and asked Kiana to bring other people over. What? Otto is coming. Okay, I'll get someone to come right away. When Kiana heard that Otto, the coward, was coming, she immediately turned around and walked towards Fu Hua's dormitory. Otto is just a mere figure, not worth mentioning. I have the immortal General Qian, who can kill Otto. Not long after Kiana left, Wu Tong and Otto came to Teresa's office. "My dear little Teresa, Grandpa is back, don't you come out to greet him?" Before seeing the person, you can hear his voice first. Before Otto entered the door, his unique accent reached Teresa's ears. Before Teresa could answer, the door of the office was opened, and the figures of Otto and others instantly came into Teresa's sight. "Grandpa, Grandma Karen." Before Teresa finished greeting, she was swept by Karen's cold eyes. "So scary, actually, I don't want to, but what else can I call her except Grandma?" Karen seemed to have heard Teresa's thoughts and said, "I was only in my 20s when I died. Although I am a little older, I shouldn't be called Grandma, right, little Teresa? Strictly speaking, you are older than me. But that doesn't count. Forget it. Just call me sister." "That's not appropriate." Otto was a little emo when he heard Karen's words. "Wouldn't the seniority be a little confusing?" "It's appropriate. What's inappropriate about it?" Karen said firmly. She didn't want to be called Grandma. She was only in her 20s. How could she be called Grandma? It made her look old. What was going on? Otto looked like he wanted to cry but couldn't. He was speechless. "Is this Wendy?" At this moment, Wu Tong spoke. Looking at the black-haired girl sitting in a wheelchair in front of Teresa, Wu Tong looked at her with interest. "Is this the most embarrassing Herrscher in the world of collapse?" The Herrscher of Wind was actually defeated by the anti-entropy Titan Mecha. It can be said that there is no one else. It is a sharp contrast with the one Shyandi in the world of collapse II. One can't beat anyone, and the other can't beat anyone. Pucci Wu Tong thought about it and couldn't help laughing. "Hello, I'm Wendy. Do you have any opinion about me?" Wendy sat in a wheelchair and looked at Wu Tong, who was laughing in front of her with a somewhat unfriendly look. No, sorry, I just thought of something funny and laughed." "I don't have any opinion about you," Wu Tong hurriedly explained. "But this explanation is better than no explanation." "Oh, so that's the case." Wendy's face was black, but she didn't continue to pursue it. People gave her a way out, so she couldn't not go down. After all, this is Bishop Otto's guest. She can't hold him because of a little impoliteness. At this time, Wendy, who has not been completely disappointed with Xianming, still has a high respect for Otto, the Archbishop of Xianming, who rescued her from the New Zealand branch. Wu Tong naturally saw Wendy's thoughts and smiled awkwardly. Teresa saw the awkwardness between the two, ended the conversation with Otto and the others, and took Wendy aside to counsel them. After this incident, Wu Tong no longer wanted to continue chatting. He stepped forward, looked at the several god keys on the table, and began to work. "Intelligence brain, analyze all the god keys in front of you, plus the desire gem on Wendy," Wu Tong ordered in his mind, and then a voice sounded from his mind. The master's request was detected, and the analysis target was locked. The target confirmation was confirmed to be successful. The analysis targets are the 5th god key, the key of stasis, the key of all things hibernate, the 7th god key, the key of destruction, the holy judgment of heavenly fire, the unfinished 12th god key, the key of corrosion, the earthly soul, and the desire gem in the body of the Valkyrie Wendy. A total of 4 targets. Analysis was successful. At this moment, Wendy, who was analyzed by the intelligent brain, felt a chill, as if she had been seen naked. After looking around, she didn't find anything. Although Wendy was sure that her feeling was not wrong, there was no clue, so she could only let it go. Congratulations to the Master for obtaining the structural drawings of the Key of God, and congratulations to the Master for obtaining the authority of wind, ideal fluid, ice, temperature control, fire, control of molecular motion, and erosion, yes. 4 powers, successfully obtained. Wu Tong listened to the voice from the intelligent brain and felt the 4 powers added to his body, and was very happy. In addition to the end and the origin, all 12 powers of the Herrscher were obtained, and they were still growable powers, and they would not be eliminated because they grew too fast. In this way, everything you want in the collapsed world is in your hands. Next, you can prepare to go to the paradise of the world, and hope that you can achieve your wish. After that, Wu Tong helped Wendy to completely merge the gem of desire in her body, and then began to think about the next trip. Dean Teresa, the gem of desire in my body seems to have completely merged with me. Wendy felt a gem of desire that disappeared from her body and the powerful power of controlling the storm at will from her consciousness, and said to Teresa with some uneasiness. After all, now that she has completely merged with a desire gem, she can be considered a wind Herrscher. Wendy doesn't know how Teresa will treat her, so she can only wait anxiously for Teresa and the others' judgment. As for hiding the fact that she has become a herrscher, Wendy has never thought about who the people present are. Chapter 115, The Return of Ying and Ling, Bishop Otto's Jealousy. Archbishop Otto, Saint of Destiny Colin, the strongest Valkyrie Orendale, S-Class Valkyrie Rita, S-Class Valkyrie Teresa, and the mysterious Mr. Wu Tong. Which one of them is not a well-informed person? How could they be deceived by me? Unexpectedly, after listening to Wendy's words, Teresa did not shout and kill her as Wendy thought, but sighed with a headache. Alice, another harsher Teresa, looked painful. Although she had guessed it when Wendy came, when she really became a harsher, Teresa still felt that she could not accept it. Now, St. Freya College has completely established the name of the Far East Demon Cave, the Harsher College. What harsher? Isn't this Wendy? Kiana and the other girls who just walked in heard Teresa's words and looked confused. But when they saw Wendy, they understood instantly. It seems that there will be another harsher of Wind in the college. Oh, don't be afraid. There are harshers among us, too. And the alias of St. Freya Academy is the famous Harsher Academy. Kiana saw Wendy's uneasy expression. As a lesbian, she immediately noticed Wendy's worry and stepped forward to comfort her. Harsher Academy. Wendy was confused. Wasn't St. Freya the Valkyrie Academy? When did it become the Harsher Academy? There is also a Harsher Academy? Are you serious? That's right. I'm the Harsher of the Void, May as the Harsher of the Lightning, the Dwarf will become the Harsher of the Reason, and the Harsher of the Knowledge will be born in the class leader's body in the future. Kiana counted on her fingers. Wendy was a little confused when she heard it. What's going on? Is the way for the Valkyries to fight against Honkai now to turn the enemy generals against each other? Has the times changed so fast? Or have I been in the laboratory for too long? Stupid Kiana, if you can't explain, don't explain. Let Branaya do it. Branaya, who was standing aside, saw Wendy's confused look and knew that it was a wrong decision to let Kiana speak. Branaya, don't call me stupid, you are the stupid one. Branaya didn't care about Kiana's clamor. She started to explain to Wendy, dividing line of explanation. I see. After listening to Branaya's explanation, Wendy looked at the story of Honkai Impact 3rd projected by the heavy armored bunny, and a glimmer of enlightenment flashed in her eyes. No wonder Dean Teresa didn't take action directly after hearing that she became a harsher. I didn't expect that the birth of the harsher in this era could have such a secret. Thank you, Sister Branaya. Wendy looked at Branaya, who was explaining to her wholeheartedly, and a touch of emotion flashed in her eyes, and she said, "This is the first time someone has cared about me so much since I became an experimental subject." Sure enough, she is as gentle as in the story, Sister Branaya. Then she cast a grateful look at Wu Tong. If it weren't for Wu Tong, she might have died in depression like the original plot. At the same time, thinking of the feeling of being scanned just now, Wendy immediately understood that it was Wu Tong who was analyzing the desire gem in her body. But can't you just say it directly? I'm not asking you to analyze it. Thinking of this, Wendy's face flushed. Otto and the others on the side didn't care about Wendy's situation. At this time, Otto looked at Colin with a painful expression as she walked towards Wu Tong. Needless to say, he also knew what Colin wanted to do. Damn pink-haired vixen. Mr. Wu Tong, I wonder if you can help us revive Sakura and Ling in Jizo's soul now. Colin walked in front of Wu Tong and looked at Wu Tong, who was thinking. Hearing Colin's voice, Wu Tong woke up from his meditation. Then he came to his senses and said, "Of course, please wait a moment, let Karen wait for a moment." Then Wu Tong used the power of the Harsher of Knowledge to extract the two souls from Jizo's soul. As the two souls were extracted, everyone present stopped talking and looked at the two blurry figures in the air over there. Although it was blurry, some outlines could be seen. One figure had long pink hair, a curvy figure, and long donkey ears on her head. The other figure was a little girl, floating in the air with her eyes closed. They were the two souls in Jizo's soul, Karen's lover Yae Sakura, and the harsher of erosion of the previous civilization, Ling. Ying, Ling. Several voices sounded almost at the same time. The Ying in the front was naturally called by Karen. At this moment, she was looking at Yae Sakura with a worried look on her face. Otto on the side looked at Karen with unwilling eyes as she called her rival in love affectionately. The Ling behind was called by Fuhua and Danzu Kangzhuan. Wu Tong looked back and, as expected, the faces of these former civilization girls were full of complexities, guilt, nostalgia, and expectation. Seeing everyone's expectation, Wu Tong did not keep them in suspense. Otto, I didn't, don't talk nonsense. I don't want that pink-haired fox to come back. A blue light flashed in his right hand, and the power of the ruler of reason to analyze and construct was instantly activated. God gave me the classics, I know the art of war, I am a master of strategy, and I am the king of law. 2 resurrection coins were instantly constructed and appeared in Wu Tong's hands. After taking a look at the resurrection coins in his hand, Wu Tong threw them into the bodies of the 2 figures in the air. As the 2 dazzling beams of light rose instantly, the figures in the air began to turn from virtual to real, and flesh and blood gradually grew on the virtual shadows. No matter how many times I see it, this scene is so shocking, Otto sighed as he looked at the beams of light in the air. Yes, Bishop, if the facts were not in front of us, who would have thought that there would be such a bizarre thing as resurrection in this world? Rita at the side also spoke up. Is this the scene of resurrection? Wendy, who had never seen the resurrection scene, only learned from Branaya, and was also shocked to see the light column in the sky. After a few minutes, the light column in the sky gradually dissipated. Hum Yingning 2 voices came out from the mouths of the 2 people who were resurrected one after another. Where am I? X2 Colin, Sister Hui, Sister Danzhu, and Sister Kangxuan. After Yae Sakura and Ling woke up, they saw a group of people surrounding them, and their hearts were full of doubts. They saw the confusion and doubt in the eyes of the 2 people who understood the resurrection. Everyone also came forward to explain to the 2. If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelis. There you'll find the original version of this story and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 116 The Great Lady of Hersher of Knowledge is born. After the explanation, there was naturally another celebratory banquet. After the banquet, Wu Tong and Qiana didn't want to disturb Fu Hui and the others who had reunited after a long absence, so they found an excuse to leave. Wu Tong took a few people back to his bedroom and kneaded out the games collected from the alien world. Then he began to challenge the high-level players in the world of Honkai Impact 3rd, and Metal Gear Solid Branaya, who dominated the game list of Honkai World. However, died again. Wu Tong looked at himself who was KOED again, full of helplessness. Sure enough, with his own game level, if he wanted to challenge a high-level player like Branaya, was he still insufficient? Good dish, Wu Tong, can you do it? Don't lose to this little dwarf. Qiana, who was watching from the side, looked at this scene and didn't want the duck to be too proud, so she started to make a fuss. If you can do it, go ahead. Wu Tong looked at the paramecium that was making a fuss next to him, and didn't fall for the provocation, but started to encourage Qiana. Branaya and I play games. Qiana was confused when she heard Wu Tong's words. Forget it, you do it. After reacting, she quickly refused. Although she didn't want to admit it, Branaya's game level was indeed better than hers. In the past, in order to prove that her game level was not worse than Branaya's, Qiana often challenged Branaya. However, the gap in game level cannot be made up by perseverance, so, as expected, Qiana was scared by Branaya in the game, and after that, she never played games with Branaya again. Tisk. After hearing this, several people rolled their eyes at this white-haired ball and ignored her. In this way, several people were immersed in the novel game, and time gradually came to the evening. Seeing that it was getting late, Wu Tong took out the gourmet tablecloth and had dinner with Otto and others who came, and time passed just like that. The 4th day Wu Tong came here. St. Freya College. Downstairs of the dormitory. Hello, what are your plans for today? Wu Tong greeted Fu Hu and others with a smile on his face. Wu Tong? What do you want to talk to us about? Fu Hu looked at Wu Tong's smiling face, and had an instinctive intuition that Wu Tong must have come for her. What's the matter? Before Fu Hu could think clearly, Wu Tong spoke. Of course I have something. If you have nothing to do today, how about accompanying me to the paradise of the past? Paradise of the past? Hearing this name, Fu Hu was stunned, and then said awkwardly, I'm sorry, Wu Tong, although I also want to go, my memory is not complete. The information about the previous civilization is all obtained from the plot, so, although I already know that the headquarters of the World Serpent is somewhere in Europe, I don't know the specific location. Bang! After listening to Fu Hu's explanation, Wu Tong slapped his forehead and said, look at my memory. How could I forget to treat you? Wu Tong then remembered that he seemed to have forgotten to treat Fu Hua's injuries. Strictly speaking, Fu Hua now has no memories of the past. All the news was learned from the world plot on the chat group. But the plot is from the perspective of the three Lu families after all, so for Fu Hua, some information is still missing. After that, Wu Tong snapped his fingers, and a green light sank into Fu Hua's body. The next moment, Fu Hua hadn't reacted yet, and she fell into trance. The body was like a long drought meeting sweet dew. The originally dry body gradually revived, and with it came the life in the martial arts hall. Captain Himiko, Kevin, the fusion warrior plan, Alicia, the 13 heroes of chasing fire, the past paradise, the memories of the previous civilization fighting against a collapse, the memories of the current civilization protecting Shenzhou, and the memories after the injury. Fu Hua remembered all these things. Fu Hua only felt that all the memories gradually revived from her mind as her body healed. But this memory was too huge. Fu Hua was caught off guard and suddenly washed away by the torrent of memories. She fainted. Kang Xiaoxuan, who was beside her, was quick to support Fu Hua and slowly put her on the ground. Mr. Wu Tong, why didn't you tell us to get ready? After putting Fu Hua on the ground, the few people finally reacted and complained to Wu Tong, who was embarrassed. I didn't expect this. I thought that after the body was healed, the memory would slowly recover. Who knew that it would all come out? Wu Tong was also a little embarrassed and started to explain. After listening to Wu Tong's explanation, the girls were speechless. Indeed, who could have thought of this situation? Now seems to be a good opportunity. Danzu learned that Fu Hua was fine and just fainted, so she was relieved. Then her eyes rolled and a ghost idea instantly came to her mind. XN. Everyone didn't understand Danju's idea and turned their heads to look at her in confusion. Xiaoxi, didn't you say a few days ago that you wanted to create Xiaoxi? Danzu saw that no one understood what she meant, so she could only speak up to explain the details. XN. So that's how it is. Everyone suddenly understood. Seeing that no one objected, Danzu said to Wu Tong. Wu Tong, hurry up, get started. After saying that, Danzu looked at Wu Tong with expectation. If anyone could create Xiaoxi, the first person everyone thought of would definitely be Wu Tong. After all, in the past few days of getting along, everyone has learned how versatile this boy is. He can be called Doraemon. But, Fu Hua, Fu Hua agreed a few days ago, so you don't have to worry about anything. Danzu interrupted Wu Tong and said. Okay, then I'll get started. Wu Tong did not refuse. This is the Lady of the Hairshare of Knowledge, and she has long wanted to see it. Seeing that everyone agreed, Wu Tong waved his hand to construct the pseudo-feather dungeon and transferred all of Fu Hua's consciousness into it. Only a shell was left on the ground. Wu Tong then waved his hand to summon a large amount of Honkai energy, and infused it all into Fu Hua's body. Seeing Wu Tong's operation, the women stared at Fu Hua's body with excitement, waiting for the awakening of the hairshare of consciousness. What's going on? Fu Hua, who was forced to give up her body, woke up immediately. Looking at the scene in front of her, Fu Hua, who had transformed into the image of the red Mandarin duck immortal, was also a little confused. This is what happened. Wu Tong heard Fu Hua's question and began to explain. So that's it, you want to take this opportunity to promote the birth of Xiaoxi. After saying that, the doubts in Fu Hua's eyes disappeared, and her eyes, like everyone else, moved to her body on the ground, with a hint of expectation in her eyes. Chapter 117, A Loving Mother and a Filial Son, and the Rebellion of a Treasure. After all, it was a life born from her body. Moreover, she had learned about Xiao Zhi's character from the plot. Fu Hua was still looking forward to Xiao Zhi, a rebel against a collapse and one of the main forces against a collapse in the future. At the same time, the appearance of the huge amount of collapse energy brought by Wu Tong instantly sounded the alarm of Saint Freya. Hearing this alarm, everyone was stunned. How could such a huge amount of collapse energy suddenly appear? For a moment, Teresa, who was pestering Cecilia, got up immediately and ran towards the center of the collapse energy. When the others saw Teresa move, they also reacted and rushed to the place where the collapse energy gathered. This time the collapse broke out in Saint Freya Academy? Good guy, this is not the first time, right? This Saint Freya Academy has really become the Far East Demon Cave, right? As everyone hurried on their way, they complained in their hearts. When everyone arrived, They saw Wu-Tong controlling the collapse energy to flow into Fu Hua's body. In addition, there were Danzu and others who were squatting beside Fu Hua, staring at her intently. And there was the ghost floating in the air next to Wu-Tong. Isn't this Fu Hua? What's going on? And this time, the collapse was actually caused by Wu-Tong? Just when the others were confused, Teresa, who had experience, reacted instantly. Teresa, who understood what Wu-Tong was doing, suddenly looked resentful. Another Herrscher of the Herrscher Academy was about to be born. Wu-Tong didn't care about the people who came. After feeling that it was almost done, he stopped infusing the collapse energy. At this moment, the consciousness of the cocoon in the cocoon of the end, which was affected by Prometheus, was overjoyed to see Fu Hua's body wrapped in a huge amount of collapse energy, and didn't think much about it. Such a powerful body, coupled with unrivaled martial arts, the transformed Herrscher must be very powerful. So, a Herrscher core of consciousness was thrown into Fu Hua's body by the consciousness of the cocoon. Not long after, a Herrscher core was generated in Fu Hua's body. Then, the Herrscher consciousness descended. Not long after, the body of Fu Hua, who was lying on the ground, began to change. The originally ordinary gray-blue dress began to change into a black battle suit. Some decorations began to appear on her head, and a diamond-shaped red gem appeared in the center of her forehead. Success! Yeah, the people on the side saw this familiar dress and immediately realized that the Herrscher of Knowledge was being born. Kang Xiaoxun and Danzu cheered and jumped for joy. They felt that this lively and cheerful baby was much more interesting than Fu Hua, an old antique, and they would definitely get along well with her. Ms. Herrscher of Knowledge is the best in the world, please wake up as soon as possible, let us fight against a collapse together. Seeing this scene, Wu-Tong's smile became even brighter. The experiment was successful, and the top combat power under his command increased by 1. Wake up, great Ms. Herrscher of Knowledge. Perhaps she heard Wu-Tong's call. Perhaps she was disturbed by the noisy voices beside her. Or perhaps she had successfully absorbed Fu Hua's vast memory. Xiao Shi's eyes slowly opened. A pair of scarlet pupils instantly caught everyone's eyes. At this moment, the new Herrscher consciousness revived from the warrior's body 50,000 years ago. Under the impact of Fu Hua's vast memory of 10,000 years of experience, the Herrscher consciousness became a warrior against Honkai, accepted the mission of fighting Honkai, and became a firm Honkai rebel. Ms. Shi, 3 years old, was born. Or 0 years old? At this moment, the one-day-old Shi baby opened his eyes and looked in the direction of Wu-Tong. Hey, kid, you have good eyesight. Yes, I am the greatest, Ms. Shi, the Herrscher. Xiao Shi stood up and showed a healthy smile to Wu-Tong. At the same time, he stretched out his hand and gave Wu-Tong a thumbs up. Yes, she is the greatest person. Looking at the Shibao who was born in front of him, Wu-Tong's mouth corners slightly raised. Obviously, Xiao Shi knew the development of the Honkai plot from Fu Hua's memory, as well as the plan of herself and others to create the Herrscher. But it seems that she doesn't care. Hello, my name is Wu-Tong, and I'm your father. Xiao Shi was speechless when Wu-Tong said that. My father, can I beat you? If you say that, I'm going to hide him. Although Wu-Tong did help her to be born, strictly speaking, he can be considered her father. But Xiao Shi is not stupid. How could he recognize a boy younger than himself as his father? Subconsciously, Xiao Shi thinks that he is the same age as Fu Hua. Moreover, this sentence sounds like a joke. However, Xiao Shi, who has always been insensitive to such jokes, also directly said, "You can't beat me." Hearing Xiao Shi's words, Wu-Tong's eyes flashed with a smile. This is not wrong. After a few days of training, Wu-Tong's strength has been improved again. Wu-Tong, who has played all his trump cards, is strong enough to rank in the top 3 in the world of collapse. The only 2 people he can take seriously are Kevin in his prime and the false god Otto. However, Otto has now resurrected Colin, and it is not certain whether he will become a false god. Kevin has been in the quantum sea for too long, and his body has not yet fully recovered. Therefore, Wu-Tong can proudly say that in this collapsed world, as long as he wants, he is a true ancestor. However, it must be said that Xiao Shi's rebellious consciousness is strong. The first thing he thought of was to beat himself. Is it because he has gathered all the powers of the Herrscher except the end and the origin? You are really worthy of that's right, forget it, then don't fight, I will let you go for the sake of your birth, be grateful. Xiao Shi put his hands on his hips, feeling that he was awesome. After saying that, Xiao Shi's eyes moved to Fu Hui, who was floating next to Wu Tong. Remember, from now on I am the real Fu Hui, you are just a fake, Xiao Shi said, while raising two middle fingers to Fu Hui. Looking at the she baby who has never experienced a lesson and now dares to touch his own mother. Fu Hui's mouth twitched. Don't use my body to do such strange things. The people watching the show sighed. As expected, Shibao and Fu Hui's personalities were completely opposite. She's your mother, not a fake. Danzu, who was standing by, saw this and spoke up. Don't make a fuss. What fake? There's no such thing. Fu Hui is your mother. Chapter 118, Reenactment, Xiaozi beats Otto. Xiao Shi, if you don't want to be beaten, just give in. Otherwise, I can't protect you. What the hell? I don't have a mother, and this old antique wants to be my mother? Are you kidding? Xiao Shi rolled her eyes and refused to admit the fact. Fu Hui is her mother. When Danzu heard Xiao Shi say this, he shook his head and sighed. I can't save you either, so you'll have to pray for the best, Shibao. Wu Tong watched this scene and had fun. A resurrection coin was quietly thrown into Fu Hui's ghost. As a familiar beam of light rose, Fu push-up player returned from the brink of death again. And the resurrected Fu Hui was resurrected in the image of the Red Mandarin Immortal. It was exactly the same as the peak period, with the same super mutation factor and the same fusion warrior. Except that the color of the hair turned white, there was no other difference. Fu Hui clenched her fist, felt the power in her body, and smiled at Xiao Shi. Then she walked towards Xiao Shi. At this time, everyone who didn't react finally reacted. Congratulations, Dean, the Far East Demon Cave has a new general. Rita, who was standing aside, smiled at Xiao Shi who was being taught by Fu Hui. Her words turned into sharp swords, and every word pierced Teresa's heart. Well, the Herrscher Academy is the Herrscher Academy, and the Far East Demon Cave is the Far East Demon Cave. At this moment, Teresa had completely given up resistance and didn't want to struggle anymore. On the side, Xiao Shi, who was taught a lesson by Fu Hui, still looked unconvinced. However, after seeing the familiar people, he immediately greeted them enthusiastically. Kiana, let's train together when we have time. May, I'm also a Herrscher now. If we have time, let's see who's stronger. Branaya, not bad. I hope you'll grow up well in the future. Dean Teresa? How can a dwarf like Cricket be the dean? Hurry up and let me take over, Teacher Jizzy. You've recovered. Congratulations, Yulondel, you seem to be quite strong. Let's have a fight when we have time. Hey, Rita, are you being a follower again? Xiao Zhi walked around the crowd and greeted everyone. When everyone heard Xiao Zhi's greeting, they looked inexplicably unhappy. Are you talking like a human being? Do you want to fight? Just when everyone was feeling depressed, Xiao Zhi suddenly saw Otto. Otto, take my punch. Thinking of the scenes that made her unhappy, Xiao Zhi frowned, then clenched her fist and punched him. Inch power, open heaven spirit. As Xiao Shi punched out, Otto's head seemed to explode before he could react. The whole person was blown away by the punch, and the huge force blasted Otto hundreds of meters away, directly hitting a teaching building in St. Freya. Bang! With a huge sound, the teaching building was directly smashed through by Otto. It is conceivable how fierce Xiao Shi's punch was. Everyone looked a little weird when they saw this scene. After a while, Otto climbed out of the ruins and limped towards this side. It's really a headache, my friend. It's obviously the first time we met, and you actually hit me so hard. Otto looked at Xiao Shi, who looked indignant and seemed to rush up to punch him again, with a swollen nose and face, and he felt a little bit smelly in his heart. This girl won't punch him again, right? If she punches again, this body will explode. HMPH, even if this is the first time we meet. I think you deserved a good punch for what you did to the old antique. I wish I could twist your head off and kick it like a ball. You dare to ask why? You're such a nasty guy. Xiao Shi snorted and stared at Otto with hatred. On the side, everyone looked mocking after hearing Xiao Shi's words. Isn't this at Sundeer? I didn't expect that he was actually at Sundeer. Is this the Herrscher of knowledge? So cute. The girls looked at each other, and the gossip information flowed through their sight, instantly revealing Xiao Shi's true nature. A little Sundeer who seemed to be dissatisfied with Fu Hui on the surface, but actually cared about Fu Hui very much in his heart. Just because of this? I didn't do anything at all, and the immortal Qi Yuan himself didn't say anything. Why are you making trouble? Otto was speechless. Is this considered being tried on a false charge? I understand. If that's the case, then there's nothing to say. I'm really sorry. Otto made a decision immediately and bowed to Xiaoshi to apologize. What's wrong with an apology? It won't cost you a thing. Otto never cares much about face. As long as he can achieve his goal, you can ask him to do a striptease. HMPH. Seeing Otto give in so quickly, Xiaoshi snorted coldly, turned his head away, and stopped looking at Otto. Tong was watching the scene in front of her happily. As expected, she is worthy of being the Herrscher of knowledge. She wants to fight Otto as soon as she is born, which is absolutely in line with the original work. Okay, do you guys have anything else to do today? Tong interrupted the conversation of several people. Let's not talk about it for now. It's time to talk about business. There will be something else later, and there is no time to waste now. Then he turned his head to look in the direction of Teresa and others who came and asked. Nothing. The women who were asked were confused. They were almost sick from being idle these days. Did Tong have something to do with them? It's good that everything is fine. Then let's thoroughly establish the name of the Far East Demon Cave of St. Freya Academy. Looking at the people in front of him, Tong smiled lightly. Since the Herrscher of Knowledge has been brought out, why not take advantage of the time now to bring out the other Herrschers as well? If they are all brought to the paradise of the past, maybe the chance of successfully prying people out will be increased. After all, there are so many Herrschers in the past. Doesn't it also show that the trial of the present civilization is easier? Maybe the guys in the paradise of the past will follow me when they see so many Herrschers, plus the resurrected 13 heroes? As for the resurrected 13 heroes, there is no rush for this, because they were resurrected 50,000 years ago. The hatred for the collapse has not been settled for years, so before defeating the collapse, they will hardly consider other things. This invitation will definitely not succeed, so it is better to kidnap the 13 heroes of the paradise of the past first, and as for the heroes of chasing fire, wait until I have the ability to solve the collapse, and then recruit them. The dividing line of the Herrscher production process. Evening. At dusk, in the training ground of St. Freya Academy, several figures wearing Herrscher's attire were sitting there. Chapter 119, The Far East Demon Cave is truly the headquarters of the World Serpent. These figures are, after watching the plot, Brownaya, who was recognized by Joyce and Lao Yang, passed on the Herrscher Corps to Walter Duck, and the third Herrscher was successfully born. The Herrscher of Reason, Brownaya Zaechek. Because she disliked Siren, the owner of the Herrscher Corps of the Void, who had killed teacher Himiko in the plot, Kiana returned the Herrscher Corps to Siren, who was influenced by Cecilia, and the Queen of the Void returned. Because I have read the plot, I know that the current Siren is not the original Siren. Both of them are Siren's successors, but not the real Siren. Therefore, Siren, who has not yet caused the collapse, actually has no blood on her hands except for Siegfried's arm. There is still a possibility of turning back. But even so, after carefully confirming that Siren has been influenced by Cecilia, Kiana returned the Herrscher Corps of the Void to Siren, the Herrscher of the Void, Siren. The creator of the third collapse, May Raiden, became the Herrscher of Thunder with the help of Tong. As for the original Herrscher of Thunder, she was resurrected by Tong as an independent individual. May Raiden, the Herrscher of Thunder. And Wendy, who completely merged with the Gem of Desire with the help of Tong and then became the fourth Herrscher. Wendy, the Herrscher of Wind. And Seal, who had her memories sealed and experienced the plot through a real illusion, became the daughter of the sea as expected. Seal, Fleur, Kiana, who also sealed her memories and experienced a plot simulation, had her growth process recognized by the Plague Gem, successfully blocked the seventh Herrscher, and became a red warrior with a high ponytail and a cloak. Kiana, Kaslana, the Herrscher of Fire and Flame. Finally, there is the eighth Herrscher born from Fu Hua's body, who has all of Fu Hua's memories and martial arts, and is also a staunch anti-collapse Herrscher of Consciousness. Herrscher of Consciousness, Xiaoshi. Tong looked at the 7 Herrschers in front of him and nodded with satisfaction. Teresa on the side was teased by everyone. Dean Teresa, there are only 14 Herrschers in total, and your St. Freya has 7, is this the way St. Freya Academy fights against the Herrschers? It's so terrifying. As expected of the Dean, you easily did what we couldn't do. Teresa, it seems that your educational philosophy is indeed reasonable. Feelings can indeed create miracles, and what about our Dean? Teresa, who was almost unable to raise her head due to the words of everyone, could almost directly observe the resentment emanating from her body. At this moment, she was squatting in a corner, drawing circles. Then, everyone who had no excitement to watch also dispersed. Otto took Colin to say goodbye to Wu Tong and others and left St. Freya Academy. Yuzakura followed closely behind. Rita and Orendale followed Otto and left. The collapse is not over yet. As S-level Valkyries, they are still very busy on weekdays. As for Lisa Shang, she stayed behind, intending to follow her master Fu Hua to atone for her sins, hoping to revive her mother and master. However, this time may be too long. Cecilia pulled up Teresa, who had not yet recovered, and walked out of the training ground with GZ and others while comforting Teresa. For a moment, in the training ground, except for the 7 Herrschers and Kang Xiaoxuan, only Fu Hua and other people from the former civilization were left. Then, "Let's go, ladies," Wu Tong looked at the people present and said with a smile. "Well, let's go." Fu Hua heard Wu Tong's words and came back to her senses from the shock of the 7 Herrschers, and replied in a dull voice. She could almost imagine how happy that woman Alicia would be when she saw so many Herrschers fighting for people. At the same time, she could also imagine what the other guys would react to when they saw so many Herrschers. Fu Hua covered her head with a headache, thinking about how to protect the 7 Herrschers in a while. Thinking of this, Fu Hua was stunned for a moment. I didn't expect that I, who had been fighting against a collapse, would now be thinking about how to protect the Herrscher. How unpredictable things are. Seeing that no one objected, Wu Tong waved his hand, and the dimensional curtain that integrated the power of the Herrscher of the Void appeared instantly, turning into a solemn door. Inside the door was a thin, black-gray energy light curtain. It looked more like a portal. Integrating the power of the Herrscher of the Void to control space, the dimensional curtain not only greatly enhanced its ability, but now it can even connect nearby worlds in the endless void within one world. And now the style of the dimensional curtain can be changed directly. It doesn't have to appear like a wall all the time. Wu Tong changed the name of the upgraded dimensional curtain to the dimensional portal. On the other side of the portal, it was connected to the headquarters of the World Snake, which Wu Tong learned from the retired World Snake cadre Raven. Seeing this, the women looked at each other and walked towards the dimensional door. Fu Hua took the lead and walked in front, and the others followed closely. Swish when everyone walked in, Wu Tong also followed into the portal. The portal standing in the void turned into countless light particles and dissipated in the air after everyone left. Europe. World Snake Headquarters. In the dim World Snake Headquarters, a dimensional gate suddenly appeared here, standing in the void. Grey Snake and others saw this scene, but were not shocked. When Raven suddenly said that she wanted to quit World Snake a few days ago, Grey Snake already knew that she was poached by Wu Tong. But Grey Snake didn't care. After all, if Raven could be exchanged for the return of all the lords, it would be too worthwhile. As long as the lord returns, then the collapse is nothing but a small matter. Grey Snake, who has blind confidence in the 13 heroes of chasing fire, thought so. Therefore, after Raven revealed the location of the headquarters, Grey Snake not only did not blame her, but gave her a bonus to reward Raven for bringing Wu Tong and others to World Snake. At this moment, Grey Snake and others who saw the dimensional gate were full of excitement. Are the lords finally coming back? After passing through the curtain in the center of the dimensional gate, everyone felt as if they were covered by a layer of water like space-time energy, and then they appeared at the headquarters of the World Snake. Wow, is this the feeling of Wu Tong's space-time gate? The process of crossing is quite comfortable, Kiana shouted as soon as she came over, describing the feeling of passing through the dimensional gate. However, she couldn't think of how to describe it after racking her brains, so she could only sum it up with the word comfortable. Stupid Kiana. If you don't know how to describe it, don't describe it. You will only expose your IQ in this way. Branaya and May, who know Kiana very well, of course saw it. Branaya didn't give Kiana face, and directly started to confront her, her tone full of ridicule. May, who was on the side, looked at this scene with a wry smile on her face. Although the two of them trust each other and recognize each other. But in normal times, they look like water and fire, which gives May a headache. When will you stop being so childish? Looking at the two people in front of her who started arguing again, May couldn't help but feel a little bit of anticipation in her heart. Chapter 120, The deal is done, Kevin returns, and the paradise on Earth is gone. Raw, is this the so-called World Snake headquarters? Where is Kevin? Call Kevin out and fight with me. I'll show you right now that what I said in the future is true. Kevin and I are really evenly matched. Black Tiger Ofu knew that Kevin was not here at the moment, so he started to talk nonsense. However, when people who knew her saw this scene, a famous saying came to their minds. When there is no tiger in the mountain, the monkey will be king. Stop it, Xiaoxi. At this time, Fu Hua spoke up to stop Xiaoxi from continuing to be stubborn. Then he turned his head and looked at the several world snake cotters in front of him. Master Hua, welcome back, Gray Snake spoke up and greeted Fu Hua. Yes, Fu Hua nodded and didn't say much. Danzu, who was standing by, looked at the gray snake and thought of something. He said in surprise, "Hey, aren't you the gray snake?" Kangxun listened and observed carefully. He soon found the unique mark of Dr. Mobius on the gray snake's body and confirmed that the person in front of him was the gray snake created by Professor Mobius. "It's been a long time, Gray Snake, it's me." "It's been a long time, Miss Danzu, Miss Kangxun." The gray snake heard what Danzu and Kangxun said and answered calmly. He naturally knew Danzu and Kangxun. After all, these two people were his creators and assistants of Professor Mobius. When he was in the per-civilization, he often interacted with these two. "Hey, you guys are so long-winded. Call Kevin out, I want to challenge him." "No, he wants to challenge me." No, never mind, call him out anyway." Xiaoxi, who was standing by, saw that everyone was reminiscing about the past and couldn't stand it anymore, so he started to make trouble. Wu Tong and others looked at Xiaoxi, and a sentence inexplicably emerged in their hearts. "You are worthy of being me, baby she. You are just like a child, lively and active, and always like to interrupt the conversation of adults. Okay, give me the coordinates of the paradise, we will go there now, I need to meet Alicia and the others." Wu Tong saw Xiaoxi interrupting the conversation of Gray Snake and others, and hurriedly interrupted. If they were not stopped, I believe these familiar people who had not seen each other for 50,000 years could chat here for a whole day. I believe that no one would doubt this. If they really chat, I don't know how long it will take. Now there is no time to chat, so we should hurry to the paradise of the past to rescue people. Okay, but you need to help us bring the Lord back from the Quantum Sea. Gray Snake did not refuse, but took the opportunity to make a request. "Rescue Kevin? Sure, no problem, it's just a small matter." Wu Tong heard Gray Snake's request and agreed without thinking. After all, Kevin, who has returned now, is not in his prime, and his strength is only 1/10 of what it was. He is not his opponent, so Wu Tong has no objection to helping Gray Snake find Kevin. Moreover, the news about himself and others must have been revealed to Kevin by Gray Snake, and even to the heroes in the paradise of the past. Therefore, it is better to fish Kevin out in advance to make a good impression. Afterwards, the two of them discussed briefly and decided on this matter. Then, Gray Snake handed the coordinates of the paradise of the past to Wu Tong. Wu Tong did not hesitate, and waved his hand, and the new dimension portal was built in an instant. The portal naturally connected to the entrance of the paradise of the past. Just when everyone was about to leave, a few people suddenly became cowardly. "Why don't you go? Kang Zhuan and I won't go, how about we wait for you here?" Danzu said angrily, his words full of resistance. Kang Zhuan on the side was the same. I don't really want to go either, you blockhead, I'll wait for you here." Kang Xiaoxun thought of the things about Dr. Mobius that Danzu and Kang Zhuan had instilled in her in the book of Kang Zhuan, and she felt a little scared. A little face turned to Fu Hua, and her face was shaking uncontrollably. Wu Tong and others looked at these guys speechlessly. At this moment, a slightly pretentious but implied crazy female voice came from the radio. "Danzu and Kangxun, you two, don't you plan to come to see me after you are resurrected? Think about the consequences in advance." As soon as this voice sounded, Danzu and Kangxun immediately lowered their heads like eggplants hit by frost. The resistance between their eyebrows instantly turned into a state of resignation. Seeing this situation, everyone still didn't know who the female voice was just now. There is only one person who can make Danzu and Kangxun become like this with a voice. Among the 13 heroes of Chasing Fire, the hero engraved with infinity, the immortal Snake Master, the crazy scientist Dr. Mobius. "Let's go." Seeing this scene, Fu Hua looked at a few people with a smile. Since she knew that this was in Dr. Mobius's territory, how could she not observe it in person when her group of people came? A group of people began to walk into the portal. Danzu and Kangxun did not hesitate anymore and followed closely. Seeing this, Kang Xiaoxun could only follow, but he hid behind Fu Hua. Wu Tong waited until everyone left before he stood up and followed. When he was about to step into the portal, Wu Tong waved his hand. Then, on the throne behind Hush and others, the unupgraded dimensional curtain flashed by, and a figure with white hair instantly appeared at that position. Wu Tong did not hesitate and walked through the portal. The words "Welcome the Lord back" were faintly heard from behind. The entrance to the paradise of the past. Is this the paradise of the past? Looking at the gate in front of her, Miyai said with some anticipation. Can we reach the inside of the paradise by passing through this door? Then Alicia, although she had never seen it in person, with the help of Wu Tong, Miyai still experienced the plot on the illusion. Therefore, thinking that she was about to meet the fury-like pink bad woman, Miyai was still a little excited. How about reviewing the plot, shouting and responding to me, Alicia, see if she will come out. Wu Tong couldn't help but teasing Mei when he saw her like this. The space at the entrance of the paradise of the past was not large, and Wu Tong didn't deliberately lower his voice. The voice was extremely eye-catching in this silent space. When Fu Hu and others heard this, they couldn't help but twitch their mouths. What kind of strange behavior is this? I don't want to do such a strange thing. Mei's face was immediately covered with blushes. Before Kiana was about to yell, she rejected Wu Tong's proposal. She didn't want to do this. It would definitely lead to social death, right? Chapter 121, Exposed Harsher of Corrosion, Eliminating Hidden Dangers. Thinking of this, Mei was speechless. What did she do in the plot and the illusion? She would never shout like that. If she really shouted, she would definitely be killed immediately, right? At this time, Kiana also spoke. No, Mei is mine, and she must not be seduced by a bad woman. Humph, Wu Tong, what kind of suggestions are you making? At this moment, Kiana stared at Wu Tong fiercely, as if waiting for his explanation. Hearing Kiana's words, Wu Tong also spread his hands. I just want Mei to experience her original destiny. What bad intentions can I have, right? Mei classmate? Mei heard this, and the corners of her mouth twitched uncontrollably. She didn't want to talk to Wu Tong, a fun person. Original destiny? It doesn't matter if there is such a destiny. Anyway, she won't shout. Humph, anyway, you definitely have bad intentions, Mei, you must not agree. Kiana's keen intuition instantly captured Wu Tong's fun mentality. He snorted, and then instructed Mei. Don't worry, I will definitely not do that. Since Mei doesn't want to, why don't you shout it, Kiana? After you go in, just shout, Mobius, you are fat? Seeing this, Wu Tong wanted to instigate Kiana unwillingly. Hearing Wu Tong's suggestion, Danzu Kangsun and others immediately looked like they had seen a ghost. Their whole bodies were stiff, and cold sweat on their foreheads slid down like rain. Do these two people have a deep hatred? If not, why would Wu Tong want Kiana to go to Dr. Mobius's operating table? No, do you think I'm a fool? Kiana shouted at Wu Tong as soon as she heard it. Although she doesn't like to use her brain, don't treat her as a fool, right? After saying this, can she still have a good end? Although she didn't remember who Mobius was, as soon as Kiana heard the name, her insect premonition instantly warned her frantically. With this, Kiana instantly judged that she must not accept Wu Tong's advice. Wu Tong said that he didn't want to talk and sent you a question mark. Is Kiana stupid? Of course not, she is also very smart. However, as we all know, once Kiana is in a comfortable environment for a long time, Kaslana's originally unintelligent brain will gradually degenerate and eventually become a decoration. Just like now, with the company of Raiden Mei, Branaya, Fu Hu and others, Kiana's brain has long been reduced to decoration. Wu Tong can be sure that Kiana, who has degenerated into a single-celled organism, must have forgotten the dangerous person among the 13 heroes that Fu Hu had warned before leaving. She must not even know who Mobius is now. In this case, she is not a fool, but she is not far from it, right? Now suddenly hearing Kiana refute herself and say that she is not a fool, Wu Tong can't help but be a little speechless. However, seeing that she couldn't even fool Kiana, Wu Tong couldn't help but feel a little dejected. It's not easy to fool people nowadays. Thinking of this, Wu Tong could only put away his suddenly amused mentality. At this moment, a subtle wave came from Miyai. Wu Tong, who had the same authority, almost instantly noticed this wave and immediately locked the source of this wave. He stopped everyone who was about to enter the paradise of the past. Wait a minute, solve a small problem first. Wu Tong stopped everyone's steps, and at the same time, His eyes were fixed on the figure of Lady Diane Miai. Miai was confused when she saw this. What happened? Why did Wu Tong look at her so strangely? The harsher of corrosion, I didn't expect it to be so hidden. If it weren't for your sudden wave, I might not have found it. Speaking of this, Wu Tong's tone was full of relief. If the harsher of corrosion really entered the paradise of the past, it would be terrible. The harsher of corrosion, who controls the power of corrosion, can directly mow down the paradise of the past life of the data integration body. Wu Tong was relieved, but also felt amused. This harsher of corrosion was actually a rookie who could hardly control his emotions. When he was about to enter the paradise of the past life, he actually leaked a breath because of excessive excitement. A big plan was ruined in an instant, and it was done by himself unintentionally. It is indeed worthy of being a newborn consciousness, so simple. Wu Tong sighed in his heart. If he hadn't been discovered by himself, he might have been mixed in. Harsher of corrosion, when Miai heard Wu Tong's words, her delicate face turned pale. The harsher of corrosion actually appeared on her so early? Once again, he almost caused a disaster inadvertently. Bring the harsher of corrosion into the paradise again. Just when Miai was scared, Wu Tong put his hand on Miai's shoulder. Okay, you don't have to feel guilty. After all, no one expected that the harsher of corrosion would appear so early. Sure enough, since the second collapse, the information about the harshers of the previous civilization can only refer to the names, and the order cannot be directly copied. Wu Tong thought of this and felt helpless. This was indeed not Mei's fault. Since the multicolor harsher of Zilin appeared in the second collapse, the information passed down by the previous civilization. Except for the harsher names being almost the same, the order has completely started to get messed up. After all, it is incredible that the harsher of flame, which belongs to the seventh harsher, would appear in the second collapse. However, since the order is messed up, it is not difficult to understand why the harsher of corrosion appeared here. Maybe it was the consciousness of the cocoon that suddenly dropped down at a certain inconspicuous time period? After thinking it through, Wu Tong no longer cared about the idea of the cocoon. After all, the conspiracy had been broken, and the subsequent plan would inevitably not be able to be carried out. Then, Wu Tong began to use the power of the harsher of consciousness, just like pinching an ant to death, and easily wiped out the harsher of corrosion that had not yet grown up. The next moment, a crystal-clear harsher core instantly appeared in Wu Tong's hand. Seeing this, Mei Yi was really sure that she had brought the harsher of corrosion in without knowing it. However, fortunately, no disaster had occurred yet. Thinking of this, Mei Yi couldn't help but cast a grateful look at Wu Tong. Chapter 122, Training the Ksitigarbha Soul, the Fading Fairy. But Wu Tong did not notice Mei's eyes. After retracting his claws from Mei's shoulders, Wu Tong moved his eyes to the harsher core in his hand, touched his chin, and looked at it carefully. After thinking for a moment, Wu Tong looked at the harsher core of the corrosion harsher in front of him and decided to refine it into a new corrosion key, which was a masterpiece that combined all his skills. After making the decision, Wu Tong did not hesitate, sat cross-legged on the ground, and controlled the intelligent brain to start extracting the collapse energy in the imaginary space. After the energy was sufficient, Wu Tong's mind moved, and the power of the harsher of reason was activated instantly, constructing the structure of the corrosion key improved by the intelligent brain. Various top-notch special metals deduced by the intelligent brain emerged instantly, and with Wu Tong's mind, they were shaped in the air like ordinary liquids and turned into parts. Splicing and assembling in the air, during this process, Wu Tong seized the opportunity and threw the harsher core of corrosion into this ball of metal frenzy. In a short while, the harsher core was truly integrated into the newly born God's key, and completely merged with a God's key. Looking at the corrosion key that had not yet been completely formed in front of him, Wu Tong thought for a moment, and then ran the Red Wheel Heart Sutra to drive his martial soul. 9 soul rings instantly appeared behind him. Looking at the soul rings that had no effect on him, Wu Tong did not hesitate and reached out to grab the first soul ring. The soul ring composed of energy did not resist at all, and was directly grabbed by Wu Tong, and then thrown into the unformed embryo. Afterwards, the Shianguang creation refining technique deduced by the Divine Machine 100 refining was instantly activated, adding spirituality to the originally ordinary metal. At the same time, countless Taoist talismans were outlined in the void by Wu Tong, and the runes symbolizing the ultimate truth of heaven and earth were integrated into this magic weapon as if they were free of charge. Not long after, a metallic soul ring that was born from the integration of technology, runes, refining, soul master system, key training system, and the core of the collapsed Herrscher was completely formed. Looking at the soul ring in front of him, Wu Tong's mind instantly poured in and left a mark on the soul ring. After the mark was left, Wu Tong felt that he had a connection with the soul ring. With a thought, the soul ring instantly turned into countless dust, and then reassembled in the air and turned into a long sword. Looking at the corrosion key in front of him, which looked exactly like the original Jizo Soul, Wu Tong did not intend to give it a new name, and directly called this weapon Jizo Soul. With consciousness spreading throughout Jizo Soul, all the information contained in this new corrosion key suddenly appeared in front of Wu Tong. Soul Soldier, Xidagarbho Soul Weapon Type, invisible and formless, swords, sticks, and clubs can all be transformed. Main ability, Erosion Mimicry, Soul Spirit, Faded Fairy, Little Ali, formed according to Wu Tong's cognition. Main technology, God's Key, Xidagarbho Soul Construction Technology, Key Refining System Refining Technology, Talisman Technology, Soul Ring Transformation Technology, Celestial Computer Technology, Soul Guidance Technology. Taoist Mantra Growth, Unknown, can erode other things to obtain enough information to enable itself to evolve. Evaluation, it combines vibranium, adamantium, soul guide metal, soul steel and other special metals. It is ever-changing and indestructible. It also has lossless energy conductivity and can erode all types of life and mechanical creations. It can not only be used as a magic weapon, but also as a melee main weapon. It has unlimited potential and a promising future. Haha. Looking at the information of the weapon, Wu Tong couldn't help but laugh in his heart. The first time he refined the weapon, he successfully transformed the soul ring. I didn't expect that I actually had this talent. Branaya, did you see it? Branaya saw it. According to the detection of the heavy armored bunny, if I'm not mistaken, Wu Tong should be refining a weapon. Wow, old antique. This is actually the refining weapon in the novel. So powerful. I want one too. Suddenly I feel that the key I've got is not so good. What should I do? Is this the power of the metaphysical side? It's really strange. Kiana and others on the side couldn't help but be shocked when they saw this scene. Kang Xiaoxuan sat on the Kangzhuan book, circling around the Xidagarbho soul, curiously looking at the newly born soul soldier in front of him. After looking at it for a while, Kang Xiaoxuan found that he couldn't understand it, so he reached out to take it down for a closer look. But before he touched it, a voice sounded, interrupting Kang Xiaoxuan's action. Hey, kid, are you polite? Just let you take a look. Are you going to do it? Who is talking? Not only Kang Xiaoxuan, but also others looked confused and looked around. Wu Tong looked at the look of these stupid geese and laughed. Then he pointed out the person who was talking to them, Jizo Yuhan. As Wu Tong pointed out the matter, Jizo Yuhan's body instantly emitted a bright light. Then, the light dissipated, and a purple little guy appeared in Jizo Yuhan's position. With a fairy-like appearance, cute eyes, and a two-headed body, he could float in the air without any help. He was holding a shrunken Jizo Yuhan in his hand, and his whole body exuded a cool aura, like a child disguised as a swordsman. Huh? Alicia? No, it's not Alicia, it's more like the Herrscher of Corrosion. The first time she saw this little guy, Raiden Mei instantly recognized the source of this image. Yes, it was Alicia. But compared to Alicia, this little guy was more like the arm doll made by Alicia in her own image, Little Ailey. Moreover, it was a faded fairy version of Little Ailey of Corrosion. At this time, Fu Hui, who found something wrong, spoke up to remind her. After Fu Hui's reminder, the girls realized this fact. Seeing this image, the girls remembered what happened in the plot, and they couldn't help but turn around and glare at Wu Tong. Even Kang Xiaoxuan, who had always had a good relationship with Wu Tong, turned his angry eyes to Wu Tong. Don't look at me. This Jizo soul was originally made with the Herrscher core of the Corrosion Herrscher, and after the weapon training was successful, the birth of the weapon spirit was generated according to my subconscious image. Speaking of the Corrosion Herrscher, of course, the one I have the deepest impression of is the Fading Fairy. You can't blame me for this. I can't decide the birth image of the weapon spirit. Wu Tong saw the girls looking at him, and immediately realized that something was wrong. With a strong desire to survive, he began to explain. Moreover, this weapon spirit only borrowed the image, and did not have the consciousness of the corrosion Herrscher. Strictly speaking, it is not the same person at all. You treat her as the corrosion Herrscher, which is unfair to her. If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelis. There you'll find the original version of this story and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 123, The Girl as Beautiful as Flying Flowers, Alicia. Is this the power of other worlds? It's really hard to understand. It's really extraordinary that weapons can be given life, in the paradise of the past. In a small room, a group of figures were watching the screen in front of them. The screen showed the scene outside the paradise of the past. The green figure looked at the appearance of Jizo Yuhan, and his eyes flashed. If I can study it, maybe my biotechnology can go a step further. I don't know if there is the infinity I want in other worlds. The others were not surprised to see the green figure like this. After all, they have been together for so long and have known each other's personalities for a long time. As for the other party's plan? Don't make a fuss. Let's not talk about whether others will allow Mobius to do whatever he wants. Just say that Wu Tong's own power should not be underestimated. Mobius can't beat him at all. So everyone doesn't need to worry at all. As if they didn't hear it, a group of figures continued to watch the screen. In the picture, looking at Wu Tong's stubborn look, a figure was amused and chuckled. This Wu Tong is so interesting, and that little guy looks so much like my little AI Li. I really want to meet them right away. I think I should introduce my little AI Li to her. Since you want to see someone so soon, why don't you go to the door and wait? You can't wait to hear. The green figure heard this and spoke directly, with a tone full of the intention of driving people away. Dr. Mobius, are you so unwelcome to me? I gave you so many little skirts. How can you say that to me? I accused a grave. The pink figure heard what Mobius said and immediately pretended to be pitiful. Unexpectedly, Mobius didn't buy it at all. Hearing the pink fat woman talking about the little skirts, a black line instantly hung on her face. You dare to talk about the skirts? I haven't settled accounts with you yet. At this point, Mobius thought of the pile of pink little skirts in his closet, and he was even more angry. Hey, seeing Mobius's angry look, the pink figure felt a little guilty. But in a flash, she became confident again. But I really want to see where the little skirt I gave you, Mobius. The pink figure said this, and seeing that Mobius's face looked a little bad, she quickly hugged his arm and said coquettishly, show me, Alicia, you bastard." Seeing that Alicia was sticking to him, Mobius couldn't bear it anymore, and said to Alicia angrily, "Slip away." Seeing this, Alicia didn't dare to offend Mobius, and hurriedly ran away and left the small room. "Mobius, I'll come to play with you later, you go ahead." The other figures sighed when they saw this scene, and then several figures followed and left the room. In an instant, the originally crowded scene in the small room began to become open. Looking at Alicia's back as she left, Mobius snorted coldly, but there was not much anger in his tone. Then, he turned his head and continued to look at the screen. At the entrance of the paradise of the past life, after a short episode, everyone began to prepare to enter the paradise of the past life. They walked to the gate of the paradise of the past life and stood still. Everyone looked at the door in front of them and felt a little excited. After crossing this door, they could enter the paradise. I feel that this place should be called the Pure Land of Bliss. It would be better if we could choreograph a dance. The kind with butterfly steps. Wu Tong couldn't help but point at the name of the paradise. He had wanted to say it before, and now that he was here, he finally couldn't help but say it out of complaint. However, everyone was used to Wu Tong occasionally saying some strange things, so all the girls ignored Wu Tong's words. The group walked straight into the gate of the paradise at a fast pace. After passing through the gate, everyone came to an empty space. This is the interior of the paradise of the past life. Ms. Alicia, your takeaway is here, Wu Tong shouted as soon as he entered the paradise of the past life. Hearing Wu Tong say this, everyone's faces were immediately full of question marks. But the next moment, a clear voice like a silver bell suddenly sounded. I'm here, where's my takeaway? After a while, a pink figure came in front of everyone. Pink slightly curly hair, flat side bangs tied into a single ponytail. She has a beautiful appearance and a pair of elf-like ears. When running, the elf ears shake slightly, looking even more lovely. It's like God gave her everything that a cute girl should have. thus creating such a perfect person. Amen. At this time, her eyes were shining with surprise, and she looked at Wu Tong with bright eyes. Here, your takeaway. Looking at the pink fairy in front of her, Wu Tong's eyes also lit up. Then, the food-making technique was activated, and she took out a cup of milk tea with ice cubes and gave it to the other party. Seeing the milk tea in Wu Tong's hand, Alicia was stunned. Oh really, thank you, this handsome little brother. The beautiful girl decided to give you a 5-star praise. Alicia was very happy, although she didn't know how the milk tea appeared. But someone actually brought her milk tea, which was such a surprise. After taking the iced milk tea from Wu Tong, Alicia directly inserted the straw into it and started drinking. At the same time, her eyes turned and looked at the girls behind Wu Tong. Then she pretended to meet for the first time and was surprised. Danzu and Kangsun, huh? There are actually 2 Huas, and a beautiful girl with the same style as Mei, and a white-haired beautiful girl. Wow, why are there so many lovely girls here today? Alicia was even more surprised as she spoke. Then she came forward to greet everyone. Hello, I'm Alicia, a beautiful girl as gorgeous as flying flowers. I don't know what your name is. Today is really a good day. There are so many lovely girls in the paradise. Welcome to visit the paradise. Alicia's smile was so bright. I didn't feel it from the screen, but I really felt it after meeting them at this moment. Among the beautiful girls present, almost half are Hershers. Moreover, from their looks, it seems that they haven't lost their humanity. This means that my efforts have not been in vain. This is really great. Chapter 124, Kiana is played by the palm of your hand, and the 13 heroes appear. Hello, Alicia, I'm Fu Hua, the lively little she spoke first. Fu Hua and others beside him rolled their eyes at her. Sister Alicia, hello, I'm Seal, the Hersher of life and death. Seal's soft and weak voice followed closely. I'm the third acting Hersher Branaya, and I'm Seal's sister, Banaya hurriedly said when he heard Seal speak. By the way, he declared his sovereignty in front of Zai. My name is Kiana Kaslana, and I'm the Hersher of fire and flame. I'm Wendy, the Hersher of wind. Hello, Sister Alicia, Humph, Siren, the Hersher of sky. Everyone gave Alicia enough face. They began to introduce themselves to Alicia. Even Siren did the same. Although she was a little arrogant, she still said her name. Listening to everyone's self-introductions, the smile on Alicia's face became more and more brilliant. Hello, my name is Raiden Mei, the Hersher of thunder. Mei was the last to introduce herself. Mei? What a good name. Can I touch your horns? Alicia heard Mei's words and praised her, then revealed her true purpose. She stared at Mei's head with a sharp gaze. At this moment, Mei, who was still dressed as a Hersher, had 2 red horns on her head. You are worthy of it. Don't forget your original intention. Mei was speechless by Alicia's words. No, Mei is mine, and her horns are naturally mine, too. You are not allowed to touch them, you bad woman. Seeing this, Kiana immediately jumped out and glared at Alicia, the bad woman. She didn't remember the other people that Fu Hua mentioned, but she engraved Alicia, who had the same hobbies as her, in her mind. She was afraid that this guy would snatch Mei from her. At this moment, she saw Alicia teasing Mei as soon as they met. Kiana immediately said that she would not allow this woman to tease a decent woman in broad daylight. She immediately stood in front of Mei and protected Mei behind her like a puppy protecting food. At the same time, she glared at Alicia with her teeth bared like a puppy with its hair exploded. Ah, a beautiful girl with white hair and blue eyes, just like Kevin. Alicia's eyes lit up when she saw Kiana. She is a beautiful girl who loves everyone equally, so of course she doesn't care about Kiana's resistance. But since you don't let me touch Mei, then I will touch you. Kiana, I want to touch your high ponytail too. Smile. Alicia's mind turned, but she remained calm on the surface. Hey, what a cute girl. Judging from your outfit, you must be a very powerful warrior, cute or something. Hearing Alicia's praise, Kiana scratched her head a little embarrassedly. But after hearing the latter part, he immediately raised his head and chest, nodded and agreed with Alicia's words. Yes, I am a warrior of the Kaslana family, and I will become the strongest Valkyrie in the future, the Hersher of the fire, Kiana Kaslana. Wow, great. Alicia clapped her hands and praised. It was obviously a slightly sarcastic remark, but when she said it, it gave people a feeling of sincerity. Hearing Alicia's praise, Kiana looked embarrassed again and scratched her not-so-smart head. In this way, Alicia used this as a starting point and began to communicate with Kiana. Watching Kiana, who was about to become sworn brothers with Alicia in just 2 or 3 sentences. Everyone smiled helplessly, and the famous scene in Tom and Jerry appeared in their hearts, Tom being played in the palm of his hand. JPG, you are worthy of it, Paramecium. Seeing this scene, everyone could only say that they were speechless. However, Branaya and the others also saw Alicia's communication level and speech skills, and immediately raised Alicia's danger level by several levels. They are either people with normal sexual orientation or already have girlfriends, but they must not fall into the trap of bad women again. Huh? This little guy is so cute, he looks a lot like me. Wu Tong heard the voice close at hand, and immediately came back to his senses and turned his head to look. Alicia, who was originally chatting with Kiana, had come behind him without knowing when. He smiled sweetly at the Jizo Yuhan floating behind him. Hello, little guy, what's your name? Alicia looked at the purple miniature version of herself in front of her and smiled. Jizo Yuhan, as a born spirit, has no influence from others, and his personality is naturally innate. However, this personality is completely opposite to Alicia's temperament. Not only does he exude a serious aura, but even the words he says are so capable and decisive. So serious, just like Kevin. Smile, little guy. Seeing Jizo Yuhan's serious look, Alicia immediately thought of her friend Kevin. His personality is also like this, serious and cold. This often annoyed Alicia, and she wanted to change Kevin's personality and make him cheerful. But there was no progress. Now seeing the little guy with a similar personality to Kevin, Alicia couldn't help it and wanted to change her personality. After a while, under Alicia's lively and cheerful personality, everyone naturally got familiar with her. After all, no one would dislike Alicia. Amen. While everyone was chatting, other heroes also slowly gathered. It's incredible that so many Hershers came here. It seems that you succeeded, Ai Li. As soon as the voice fell, a royal sister with dark red hair and golden pupils slowly walked out. Her voice was very nice. It gave people a very gentle and mature feeling. The one who came was none other than Eden, the great artist of the former civilization, who bore the inscription of gold. In addition, there was also a beautiful girl who looked very similar to Yae Sakura. She was also called Sakura, and bore the inscription of moment. Then came Cosmo, who had the dream of being a hero and bore the inscription of Asahi. Mobius, who longed to analyze everything and ascend to infinity, bore the inscription of infinity, thanks to Blood Sea Infinite, demon ancestor immortal for the great reward. Chapter 125, Kidnapping begins. 13 Yingji's heartbeat. Kevin, who carries everything from the previous civilization and has the inscription of Savior. Sue, who is enlightened and has the inscription of heavenly wisdom. Soon, the 13 heroes from the paradise of the past all arrived. The heroes who came here were also very surprised when they saw the Hershers in front of them. Although they had just seen the appearance of the people on the screen, they did not expect that there would be so many Hershers among the people who came. On the screen, you can only see the appearance of people, but cannot feel their aura, so the heroes did not know that there were so many Hershers among the people who came. In addition, Wu Tong had just created the Hersher when he came to the world snake, so the gray snake had no time to get the information and report. It's really incredible, Ellie. It seems that your plan has succeeded, but this gentleman, I think you seem a little scary. You seem to have a lot of strange abilities. Can I study them carefully? Big brother Mobius glanced at everyone, and finally his eyes fell on Wu Tong. Among so many people, Wu Tong was the one she was most interested in. Coming from another world, and a world not above the tree of imaginary numbers, a powerful person from the metaphysical side of other worlds. According to the information provided by the Gray Snake, Wu Tong is also a time traveler with a cheat, which makes her even more interested. Creatures that only exist in novels, human fantasy has become a reality at this moment. How can she not be excited? No need for that. I don't want to be a test subject. Wu Tong took a look at Ling Zhen and realized that Mobius's real purpose was not his own abilities. Instead, he planned to study his body and cheats. Even though Wu Tong was sure that Mobius could not figure it out, this kind of thing still made him feel uncomfortable. So Wu Tong decisively spoke up and rejected Mobius. Are you sure you don't want it? Big brother, I can help you do the super transformation surgery. Kevin, you know, I was the one who operated on that guy. Not only can it enhance your strength, but after becoming a fusion warrior, you can live forever. Do you want it? If you want, let me study it. Mobius controlled his legs to turn into a snake tail, swimming around Wu Tong, like a demon that leads people to fall. trying to drag Wu-Tong into the abyss. I refuse. I can become stronger by practicing on my own, and I don't want to change my own race. If I want, I can become a hairshare at any time. Besides, my lifespan is not short now, so I don't need to consider those things for the time being. Wu-Tong rolled his eyes and refused again. That's really a pity. I'm really interested in you after being rejected. Although Mobius said it was a pity, it seemed as if he didn't understand. The pair of snake pupils still stared at Wu-Tong, like a hunting snake, looking at its prey. Interested? If you are interested, come with me. With my ability, I can definitely satisfy your curiosity. There are endless possibilities in the endless world. Just follow me, and one day, you will get everything you want, just like in my world. In addition to novel things like martial spirits, there are also gods. Although the combat power is not very good, the length of life is endless. How about it? Do you want to learn about it? Wu-Tong looked directly at Mobius, without any dodge, and invited him directly. Gray Snake must have told this group of people about his purpose, so Wu-Tong did not intend to beat around the bush and directly used a straight ball attack. Are you interested? If you are interested, come home with me. I can take you to adventure in the endless world, and in that endless world, there are endless possibilities. Wu-Tong's words are like a black hole, attracting Mobius's mind. As soon as this was said, all the eyes of Yingji moved over and looked at Wu-Tong. Oh, aren't you afraid that I will go to other worlds and do something you don't like? After Mobius came to his senses, he glanced at the other heroes and looked at Wu-Tong with interest. She was now full of curiosity about Wu-Tong. If Wu-Tong could convince her, she didn't mind leaving with Wu-Tong. Oh, since I'm willing to let you go, I must be sure. And if you doubt someone, don't employ him. If you employ someone, don't doubt him. Since I invited you, I will trust you. You won't betray my trust, right? Wu-Tong looked at Mobius and smiled. Mobius also looked at Wu-Tong with a smile, without saying anything. To be honest, I'm actually in need of talent. One of the fundamental purposes of coming to this world this time is for you, the heroes of the paradise of the past. Whether it's top scientists like Mobius and Vilvi, or warriors like Kyanji, Kevin, and Cosmo, they are all what I need. Although people from other forces also want it, they will definitely not go with me before the collapse is resolved. It's better to invite them later, and I believe that with the help of the dimensional chat group, it has become inevitable for your world to cross the collapse. In this case, people like you may not be accepted by the world in the future. Why not go with me? My world can accept you. How about it? Mobius and others deeply agreed with Wu-Tong's words. As people who came from the era of previous civilization, they naturally knew about the darkness of human nature. As long as the collapse is resolved, the countries in the world will definitely turn their swords and start targeting those Valkyries who are against the collapse. As the saying goes, a man is innocent, but he is guilty of holding a treasure. After all, those Valkyries were not wrong, but they possessed powerful strength, which was a mistake in itself. It was for this reason that Otto and others decided to leave this world with the Wu-Tong. Okay, you're right, I'm a little tempted, but why are you sure that we won't stay to fight the collapse? You know, the collapse has not been solved yet. Mobius and other Yingji looked at each other and asked the doubts in their hearts. I plan to revive the Yingjis from 50,000 years ago so that Kevin and others outside can reunite. Hearing this, Mobius and others flashed a hint of understanding in their eyes. In this way, it makes sense. They were originally the memories of Yingjis. If the real Yingjis were resurrected, then with the current strength of the collapse of civilization, it would be the same whether they were there or not. As for the power of Yingji, they, the memory, are naturally the most clear. End of this chapter. Thank you very much for reaching the end. Don't forget to like. Looking for more exclusive content and immediate access? Subscribe to our Patreon. Remember, every like, subscription, or donation encourages us to continue. Thanks to everyone. See you in the next video.